tell our friends, and they can have my things when we're dead. But we gonna live forever. We gonna live forever.
The BOYSCAST. We are here outside of Los Angeles. We got a special guest, An0maly. Say hi to the people.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Orange County.
Yeah. Oh, is that where we are?
Yeah, Orange County.
We're in Orange County.
Yeah. Give it a shout out. It's a good place.
Rapper, podcaster, just censored man. Dude, this guy, you got to be like getting pretty censored right now, right?
Everything's okay for now, but I've had I don't want to brag, but I've had five TikTok videos taken down.
You haven't seen my...
Dude, that's like, what, in a day? That's like...
That's amateur hour. Dude, if you scroll through my TikTok, I can scroll for like 25... It's like a party trick. Scroll through.
Community guideline strike or whatever.
Yeah. Too good looking. So we've been in LA for like a little while. And you're like our first kind of guest in this format. But because everyone talks shit about LA, like it's the worst. And I got off the plane and people were vlogging in the airport. Dude, I'm not... I don't know. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, I saw you.
Dude, I'm not kidding. I get off the plane and I walked out and there was a kid lying on the floor and then a guy, you had to like essentially step over him. Dude, it was full LA immediately.
I think they just build the homeless different here. You're just like fucking stepping over. Like
there were kind of homeless everywhere.
It's like living at the airport.
What's the most, this is, and then I saw that. This was the most place anyone's ever asked for masks. Because everywhere else in New York, they have all the things, but no one does them.
You get a selfie. It's like, this is where dreams are made. And there's like a homeless guy like shitting like below him. But he's like, he's getting like the angel thing in the background for Instagram. It's like that.
I had actually the most passive aggressive airline, whatever, steward or... like on the way over, like my mask was down like a bit. Ryan always gets like tons of shit because it's like mask will be, and they'll be like, hey, he goes, hey, is there something where, like, he goes, do you need a new mask? I was like, a new mask? What are you talking about? He goes, well, I just noticed like
I'd like it to cover your eyes as well.
He goes, I just noticed like your mask is like, it keeps like sliding down a bit under your nose, so it's like maybe the strings aren't good and you need a new mask. He's like, just because I keep walking and I see.
Do you think they were really? Do you think they were really concerned, or it was like a passive aggressive sort of thing? Like, do we need a new mask? Because like it's now, you're like, do you really think that, or are you just telling me to put it up?
The Starbucks people were insane. You'd go in, they would. I've never seen anything like this. At the door, they go, mask on, and then this is the best thing I saw. Someone was at the lineup and they had their Vax card, and they were like, "Hey, who do I show this to?" And the people at Starbucks were like, "You don't have to." And the guy's like, "Can I?" He was jazzed up. We
had like the crazy thing too is like we had like lunch today. We were on a patio, and you need to show a Vax card to sit outside.
Bro, it's
like we're outside.
So you hate LA. Like you say you move, you haven't gone back.
I was there for 7 years and I saw it go downhill every year. Like more homelessness, places that didn't have homelessness now have it. So it went downhill every year. Once the pandemic hit, I was out. So I haven't really seen but the restrictions, in Orange County, they don't bother you. 6 months, no one says a word.
You know what I was thinking is that, like think of like a boomer Republican dad just like walking around, how mad he would get. I was in the Starbucks. There was a girl with a Green New Deal t-shirt. I love the idea of like a guy walking around being like, they're fucking probably polyamorous too.
Out here you have like a fuck Joe Biden InfoWars shirt. You know, the boomers live out here.
That's how you fire them up.
You got to get him to go to LA and just like film it. He's like, you don't even understand how economics works. She's like,
Dude, just like a straight up have the InfoWars guy at the Liberal Thanksgiving, and you got dude just like Green New Deal tax the rich, fucking showing up walking around Orange County.
I mean, this year is like by far because it's like the first post vaccine like major holiday, I guess, right? So like this is the one where we're gonna be hearing a lot of fireworks and a lot of people are like, I have to I'm never talking to my dad ever because at first
my dad wants me to wear a hazmat suit.
It was like Trump forever, right? And now like Trump's gone, but then those dads are like, yeah, Trump's gone, but I'm not getting vaccinated. So yeah. You think Trump's gone, but Trump's not gone.
Well, that's why I liked you were posting my stuff, and I always because you were kind of always making fun of both sides, right? Like, because you were one of the original. Like, did you used to like Trump? Now you don't like him?
I would say, and to walk it through,
walk me through.
I didn't vote him. I didn't vote for him in 2016. Right. But afterwards, I just felt like they were exaggerating, overdoing it. So I was like, I started listening to him, and I was like, oh, he's actually saying some stuff. So I did like him. But even when I liked him, I felt like the reason people listen is because I wasn't like full blown build a wall wearing hats. I was like, yo, he's not lying about this. So I felt like he was doing a lot of stuff. And then in 2020, when I started disagreeing, you know, people started freaking out. And that's when I realized, I was like, wow,
You were part
certain
of their
people
cult.
Yeah,
Like they wanted you to be
the Trump
like,
anti-Trump thing.
Well,
You guys, it was early.
yeah.
I define myself by him. I define myself against him. That's why that was so funny, because I was like, that's so true to certain people, not everybody, but some people are like, it's either pro or anti, and they don't really.
Oh yeah, real. Well,
You nailed it with that
the Kyle
skit.
Rittenhouse thing, where he goes on Tucker Carlson and goes, look, he's like, I'm not a racist. I support Black Lives Matter, and all these people were like on Twitter, like you could tell they were like,
Throw him in Guantanamo.
you're like the whole thing is my identity, Kyle. You're like, your whole life, this whole trial has been my identity for the last like 6 months.
I thought that was crazy, because I'm like, he's 17 or 18 or 19. I don't know how old he is now, but I'm like, he did one thing, and you expect him to be like Newt Gingrich or something. Like,
Yeah,
this kid, who knows if
They
this
want
kid
to be
even
the
has
prophet.
that? Clearly, he's right leaning, but he's like, yeah, I don't really think
people-
about that much. They're
People were
throwing
watching
him.
that like, yeah, that's not going to work for me, Kyle.
Yeah, let's fix up those opinions there. I kind of went to bat for you pretty hard.
Yeah, I got fired from my job. Started defending
my opinions. So
What do you think of Truth Social? Do you think that's...
Is that Trump's thing?
oh, you don't know? Yeah,
yeah,
that's his
that-
new social media site.
I feel like he announced it, and it's not. Is it out yet?
no,
or-
it's never coming out. No.
I feel like with Mike Lindell,
Danny's
like
early investor.
the boomers especially were like, bro, frankspeech.com. It's the real.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
went
yeah,
to
Mike
it.
Lindell had
It looked
his
like
one,
a
too.
GeoCities. Like I'm not trying to knock it that bad, but I was like,
No,
this
it wasn't
doesn't-
that bad.
It was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
bad. It was, so with the True Social, I'm like, he said it. Is there?
No, True Social is even more ridiculous. They just took like an open source thing, and then he's like, "We're just going to make our own Twitter," and like, and not even Twitter. He's like, "We're going to compete with. We have a company that competes with Stripe. We have one that competes with Facebook."
Right.
You're like, these are all like on their own $50 billion companies, like giants. He's like, you're going to make one to compete with every single.
I can't have an opinion because, like you said, it's not even out yet. So
Yeah, I mean, it's never coming out. It's just like,
What's the best new one? Like, what's the best alternative social media in your...
I mean, Rumble, BitChute are pretty good, but I
Is
don't
Rumble
really.
popping off? If every once in a while it seems like there's a big
It's
push
starting
where they're
to.
like, we're actually, just as big as you. Like they kind of come out.
I think TikTok killed it.
Russell
but that's not
Brand
really,
was coming on there. That was a
Right.
big fucking pop for them.
Right. Now they have quite a bit of traffic. I've seen like hundreds of thousands of live streamers on there, just live to watch. I think Mike Lindell or Trump. Those are the big pulls on there. But
On Rumble?
What does Mike
Yeah,
Lindell
Rumble.
do? Is he just does pillow reviews?
No, Cyber Symposium. He said the election was stolen, so you.
So that's his big
but
thing?
you got to watch. Like it was like a 3-day, like 20-hour bonanza. That's where I was like, bro, if he has proof, he's not going to drag it out. It's like longer than.
Isn't he getting sued for like crazy?
So that's what he does. His whole thing is he's like, if you tune in next week, I might reveal
Yeah,
like a
right.
new
Next
favorite.
week on the Mike Lindell show, I'll show all my proof.
So he's always got like he's always dangling a new piece of election info.
I get a lot of heat from people too because he said in January he was on a plane. He said, "Yo, Trump's going to be back in office. I guarantee it," or something
Yeah, he
like
said
that.
by
And then-
August. He said
and
by
then but
August.
then
He gave a
said, and then
date.
he said August, and then he's like, "No, I didn't say August," but he had that Cyber Symposium, and then he was like, "No, I didn't say Trump was going to be back. I said I have the proof that he could be like." So it's like, and I'm like, dude, I have the clips
Dude,
of
it's
you
like
saying
it's the
it.
Mayan calendar. It's the Mayan calendar all over again. They go, it's the end of the world, and then the day comes. They go, I guess we missed a 0 or something. It'll be add 100 years, and it'll be that.
Yeah, people get really upset though at me because I laugh at this stuff. Like, you guys are comedians. I try to make like jokes about it, and like certain things people are like, whoa. Like, I was with you on all that, but like Mike Lindell, like, you better, he's a good man. I was like, I'm not saying he's not a good man. I think he's a great man. I just think
I don't know what kind of man he is.
to watch him keep doing this, and like, hold your horses, bro. Like,
Yeah. Well, he does a lot of crack. That's that's
yeah,
part of
but
it.
he used to.
He
He's
used
reformed.
to.
Yeah. And we got to respect that, But he
he's
still
a-
has the energy, though. You
Oh,
know
he
what?
has that crack head.
Right? It's like you can't take the hood out of the man. It's the same thing with that. He's got that energy. He used it
I
to build
bet
an
he's-
empire, but then it could go different ways.
Like, I bet if you see him cross the street, he like doesn't obey the signs and he goes real fast. Like classic crackhead go.
Dude, what do you think? Because I was talking to, so we were talking to our buddies who are from Australia, right?
Right.
So the first question, I want to know what you think is the worst places, because we've been making fun of Australia, and you talk about a lot of this stuff. But then he was kind of like every time I talked to Australia, his vibe was like, no, it's not that bad. Like the news is making it seem like we're locked in our houses. Right. It's actually not that crazy. Like it's only bad if you live in this one area.
Right. And then, it's only bad if you live in the 2 most populous cities in the country. Right. He was like, yeah, it's not that bad. You're like, yeah, you lived in one of like the shitty states.
Well, I'm saying he has Stockholm syndrome.
Oh yeah.
But then he was kind of made a decent point because I was sort of saying outside my house, it's like a nightmare. It's like homeless guys. And I'm like, it's not that bad. And he goes, see, that's how quickly it is where you go, yeah, it is what it is. You got to step over 9 people to get to the fucking subway. So I guess maybe they just adapted to it. But what do you think is the worst places?
It's hard to tell because if I haven't been there, I'm going off of what other people are saying. I think Australia's pretty bad. It seems like Austria is going back into
Austria's
lockdown.
The craziest.
Did you see the Austria one?
Austria's mandatory vaccination in February.
No, but they had
a full lockdown for even vaccinated.
No, I know. Right? They went to go, we're going to lock down the unvaccinated, and then a week later they're like, that's not working. We're going to go everybody. And then they go,
that
and
was
also
so funny.
February mandatory vaccine, which I don't understand how mandatory vaccine's meant to work.
At a certain point, I'm wondering if they're going to like literally go
tie
for
you
people.
down.
But that's what I'm saying.
Like, now they're like, you're rejected from society. You can't come here if you don't get it. In one of these countries, they're going to have to like start being like, I think in Germany, they said something like everybody's going to be cured, dead, or vaccinated. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Like you run that back real quick. So yeah,
dude, yeah,
maybe
Austria, and then like just also like the optics of Austria checking fucking papers is so funny. Right. It's like are you trying to get the like alternative media to hate you?
I don't think they care. They're just like we're in our little just bubble here in Austria. Nobody's paying. They probably think they're like nobody pays attention to Austria.
Yeah,
it was funny in 2020.
What do you think of Canada from a guy from here? Like, what do you think of Trudeau and what they're doing there? What's the American perspective?
I think people are nice there, and they don't have that like First Amendment, Second Amendment energy that Americans have on the whole. So the government gets away with more. That's the thing about America. I never cared about the Constitution, conservatism, but I'm like, the First Amendment says you have the freedom of speech. Not everyone has that. You can get arrested in Germany for saying certain things. You can get arrested in the UK. So in Canada, people, they're like, no, we like our government, at least before. So now you have them going further and further.
Well, yeah. I was talking to my sister-in-law lives in, we're both from Canada, but my sister-in-law lives in Victoria in British Columbia, but she's from Virginia.
Okay.
Right? So she like grew up with like guns and everything and all this stuff. And I was like,
and everything.
What do you mean?
Right, as always. People love when you talk
guns
about
and
guns.
barbecue.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, my brother like went to visit her dad, and my brother's like, I was like shooting like an automatic like rifle and it was on the farm and like all this stuff or whatever. But because like I'm not like a gun guy at all. And in Canada, like you really like don't, because we see it from there, and you're like, all the guns here, and nobody like really get. You're like, yeah, you guys are just like obsessed with your guns. And then COVID happened, and all you see everywhere else, and then I go, okay, like I'm like I get the gun thing now.
Right.
I'm like I'm not a gun guy, but I get the fact that there's just like woven into the fabric of this country is so many guns that it's in the back of the mind of like when they have policy decisions that they go like, there's just like, it's back there that they're like, there are all these people with all these guns, and they're all kinds of different people. It's not like a certain type of person with guns. Everybody here has guns.
And if you said, say, like 5 years ago, they're going to come to your house and force you to get a vaccine, that would seem crazy. Now, it's not happening, but it doesn't seem that crazy. I think in one of these European countries, they're going to eventually just be like, we've kicked you from society. We won't let you here. You still won't get it. Like, these people just keep going. So I feel like that's in the back of the mind. Like, how are you going to go to Texas and collect the guns or like force vaccine? Yeah, that's not
You're not going to do any of this.
Yeah.
Even like just like lockdowns that are too strict and stuff. They're like, it's always informs every decision that they have to make. Whereas everywhere else, they're like, yeah, I'm not worried about the populace like rising up.
Right.
Like, what are they going to do?
Is your thing, like if you're, because I know you like don't want to take it and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Like, is your thing that it's like kind of a silent protest to some degree, or like I won't be told what to do, or are you worried about like the stuff?
It's a combo of both, I think. Definitely, I don't want to be told what to do. I've taken things in the past that I did under my own free will. This stuff, the Pfizer and the Moderna are synthetic mRNA. I don't think the doomsday, like everyone, I don't buy into all that, but I don't want it. I don't feel the need. I've seen what COVID does to people, and I try to take care of myself. So I just don't want it. And then also, I think the manufacturers, they don't have liability. Like, the one story that we're going to talk about later, the guy who sued, I think it was GlaxoSmithKline and won. These are not perfect companies. So when they have no liability, I feel like they're not afraid to rush it out because they don't have really a reason to be. So.
I mean, they were asked to rush it out too. They were like, I don't know if they were given any sort of like protection from the fact that they were almost like not forced to rush it out, but they kind of were. Like
under the PrEP Act by George W. Bush, they passed a law that said during an emergency, he did a lot of that stuff. Gay dude's got to take PrEP. He got gay, super gay. No, but they passed that they have no liability under an emergency, so that's how they're being protected. Right. But the silent protest, whether people got 2 vaccines or the booster shot, I love and appreciate everybody, but it's like at a certain point, if they can do that and force you to do that, they can do that with anything. 50 shots, this medication, that medication. You see some of these guys from Australia, I think his name is Michael Gunner, he's freaking out. He says, I don't care if you got the vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer if in any way, shape, or form you're against mandates. And
I saw that the other day. That guy was
crazy.
Yeah, I saw that video yesterday.
Like that guy looks like a dictator, so that it's like people got to put up the wall or else these people just keep marching along. So it's a combo of those two.
Yeah, it's crazy to be like, for someone to actually be like, yeah, even if you took the vaccine, you are an anti-vaxxer if you disagree with what I want to do.
And it's in a Webster dictionary. They actually have, it says anti-vaxxer.
They love changing the dictionary definitions, huh?
Well, fact check, they said, oh no, we didn't change it. It's been that way for a few years,
Yeah.
So, but that's not an original word. They invented that word at a certain point. If you oppose vaccines or mandates, you're technically an anti-vaxxer according to Merriam-Webster.
So I'd like to see the stats on how many like Merriam-Webster like definitions they changed in the last 6 years.
They've had a ton.
Dude, there was people use it in an argument. They go, it's in the thing. And you go, that's like an activist dictionary.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this is a dictionary of like telling you you're right.
Yeah. Right. That's the word racist. Like, it's like, it wasn't an original word. So they invented it, changed it a million times. You're like, well, Webster says this. If you're this skin color and you disagree with me, but technically you're an oppressor. And you're like, where'd you get that dictionary?
They're one step away.
We don't print them anymore.
Being like, look, we fucking look in the definition. And like, if you want to look up asshole, it's Ted Cruz's picture. And they actually put his picture there. And they go, what? That's what it is.
Ryan's just lifted a joke he heard at a Brooklyn open mic.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about that story because this is the question. Has Big Pharma gone too far? So there's this dude and he got Parkinson's. That's why I thought this stuff would be fun because you kind of know about this stuff and you were like a sort of a Big Pharma groupie, you'd say.
I would say I have 3 Pfizer shirts, but I mean, like,
so this dude, he won a $160K lawsuit in French courts and basically got a Parkinson's disease drug, and then it made him a gay sex addict. And so this was what it said.
Gambling addict as well.
Yeah, the loving husband who claimed Parkinson's drug turned him into a gay sex addict. Sheesh. Won 160K euro French court. Didier Jean-Bat of Nanda's friends, so Diddler. Yeah, he's got the photo.
I was like,
he loves showing photos.
I feel terrible now because I mean, like, it really happened. He won.
I mean, he looks really upset in the photo. Like, it's obviously, but it's great. Like, is he the only one? Like, he can't be the only person to have taken this drug.
This is sort of what the rabbi said with the vaccine, where he goes, no, it's basically you're with your wife. Yeah. And you go, where were you last month? And you come back, you go, listen, our money's gone. I'm pumped full of cum.
Yeah.
Dude, I am
like, he probably just went on like a crazy, just like bender rager. And then he's like,
chock full of cum. But no, the thing that they said.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so because you only saw the first part. Basically, what the gist was is because so what happened was it directly stimulates the dopamine receptors in the brain and acts as a replacement for dopamine, which is deficient in certain parts of the brain in patients that have Parkinson's disease. So basically, it was like shock. He had these, when people are fucking, I don't know if the idea is that you're chasing dopamine or it gives you too much dopamine.
Okay.
I think it gives you too much dopamine.
So he just went to like gay strip clubs and racetracks?
It's like you're an addict, right? Like, imagine you're like,
started like, just crazy that he's like, yeah, I'm just married and I'm like a normal dude, and then now all of a sudden I'm just like a gay prostitute.
But haven't you ever
from this like Glaxo drug?
You know that idea that like people that do tons of coke get like depraved?
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Okay.
That it like jacked him up so much that he was like, he needed the thrills. This is what he's saying in court. He's like,
I wonder, I mean, I guess, well, they don't have this info, but like, I wonder, like, did you ever like kiss a man before this? Like, were you like, straight as an arrow? Like, I'm not really a big gambling, pretty risk averse guy.
This should have been the
He never even gambled before. He goes, I lost some of my gambling. He said, well, maybe you don't know how to gamble.
Like, does he like show up this like fucking like gambling sex crazed dude at like a casino and he goes, what are the rules? I like this game. What are the rules here?
They should have televised this instead of the Rittenhouse trial. They're like, have you ever kissed a man before this? He's like, no, yes, no, yeah. You're like, dude, he's like, okay, fine, maybe just a few times. You're like, that would have been a hilarious case.
The tendencies for the gay thing, but you're right. The gambling.
But like, the question is this the sign? Remember the Seinfeld where George has the fake cabin, and they go, and he's like, we'd love to see the cabin. He goes, yeah, let's go see the cabin. And then but he doesn't. They go, okay, I guess we're gonna drive to the cabin now. And like, he just was straight up like, got busted with all this, and he's like, yeah, it was the disease. And his wife's like, we should sue. And he's like, yeah, we should sue. Let's do that. And they go through the whole. They're in court, and he's got experts, and he's like, all right, they're gonna find, and then he just like wins the case.
Yeah. Oh wow, that sounds like exact. Maybe he got that idea from Seinfeld.
Yeah. They said he was
going down with the ship.
He was an upstanding member of the community before he started taking this drug. So now he's a bent over member of the community. All right, fellas. He goes, the court damages because what their findings was there was a serious, precise, and corroborated evidence to blame the transformation. So, or it is possible, and this is maybe my theory, and it may not be right, but because he had Parkinson's, he was shaking, and it's possible that the shaking was preventing him from taking the dicks. So,
he goes, finally!
Well, that's the thing. People were trying to fuck him, and he goes, just pop it in there. The guy's like,
what's the gambling?
Well, that's the thing. They couldn't get the dick in because all the shaking. And then the thing calmed the shakes down.
I mean, the fact is like, if this, I'm sure a lot of people took this drug. Like, and I'm sure this was their defense, is they're like, yeah, this didn't happen to anybody else.
Dude, if you want to go on it,
gambling and gay, like
gambling,
that's a specific, like,
so specific.
Thing.
You're like, we didn't have
dopamine forces you to do that, or is that the sin you chose?
It's like it's in you, and it unlocks your like worst version of you. But there must be other people who are doing this crazy like
it replaces the dopamine. That's the idea. It like gives you so much dopamine that you're woo, it gets you jazzed up.
If you go to a casino and there's hundreds of people in a rainbow shirt that are just shaking, you're like, oh, okay.
Like, is he kind of like, I got to lose all this money to like level me out, like to kind of like make me sad? Like, is that what it is? Like, dude, he needs to bum himself out.
So you're right. No one else that had this happen. But if you are about to go on like a coke-filled fucking just gambling, like with the boys having sex, that is for sure to your wife. You got to start saying that. You got to be like, oh, just starting my new drugs. You know what I mean? And then this is the alibi.
Yeah. I wonder if Glaxo was like, sir, you weren't supposed to crush up those pills and snort them?
Sir, we gave you the placebo. You got the...
Yeah, that'd be amazing. It's like that was a sugar pill.
That was the sugar pill, sir. He's sitting there. He's like, no, 2 dicks in his hands. He goes, I think I fucked up. No, I give you sugar pill. No, you didn't.
Takes the ball gag out of his nose. Honey, I got to talk to you.
Well, it says he goes, and he totally gambled away 82 G's, and that's Euro G's too, and mostly placing internet bets on horse races. So that was his big thing. He was fucking taking dick in the washroom at the fucking ponies, just hacking darts at the ponies and taking D's. And they said he was engaged in a frantic search for gay sex, which, as you know, is the worst type of search for gay sex. Yeah. Frantic.
You don't want to be frantic. Yeah.
I mean, when he was making his like profile on like an escorting site as a prostitute, he should be maybe like, maybe I should just not take this pill for a week, see what happens. Like when he's like, I'm not a gay man at all, I'm making like a profile to be an escort.
I think I've been on a frantic search for like sex where you like after the bar, it's like, like sending 9U up text when you're like in college. Mm-hmm. That's the frantic sex for girls. But the frantic sex for guys is like banging on the brothel doors. Like, you come on. No, I need it. Please let me in. He's banging on just random doors on like random people. Like, I saw a rainbow on your front lawn. I'll suck you off fucking man.
Yeah. I want to know what he's up to now.
You don't really need to be that frantic though, because you just load up Grindr. Like, is it
pre-Grindr? I think
this was from before,
or maybe not pre-Grindr.
That must be drudging up old like wounds.
Yeah.
If he's got to keep going back to the court, like he's trying to put this behind him. No pun intended. And then he's always got to keep going to the court case. Like he's like, remember, we're back to normal. And then every like whenever you got to go to the hearings, is like, So yeah, how many dicks did you suck? And you go, thousands.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't believe it just because of there would be more than one person.
Right. I saw.
So what do you think? So what do you know about this company? You saying you know this company?
Oh, GlaxoSmithKline. Well, they're one of the biggest pharmacy companies like ever, and I think vaccine manufacturers. I don't know how they didn't get a product with the COVID. They
never got one, right?
Yeah, they missed that. I think they got money.
I think they got one. I think they had one, and then it was no good.
That stinks to be the one company that like.
I saw a Fauci article from today where it said that he was, and hopefully this isn't fake, but it was like he was in gay saunas during the AIDS epidemic to study the outbreak, and I was like, bro,
yeah, so was everybody else.
Like this guy. He's so like, I'm just here studying the AIDS. No, really, I mean, I don't know if you have internet, but you should look it up to make sure it wasn't like Babylon B.
Yeah,
because I don't want to get tricked.
So is every other straight guy in the 80s.
That is true.
I'm just here for research.
Because you could publish an article about Fauci and it would go viral pretty quick where you're just like, in 1980, Fauci punched a kid.
Oh, for sure.
And everyone would be like, fucking right.
I gotta look that up though to see if he really did that.
I love that. He's on the sauna. Two dudes are blowing each other, and he's there with like a pen and pad.
He just writes "gay" and underlines it twice.
After doing an extensive research,
gay. Fill them up with drugs. More pharmacy drugs for these gays.
He's going back. He's like, I need more money. This research is not even near complete. I'm just scratching the surface of the kind of research I need to do. He's at the meetings wearing all leather, like. Research is going pretty good. I'm going undercover as a scientist. Well, on that topic, that leads, we gotta mention this because me and Danny have been talking about this for like a while because I'm obsessed with like Will Smith, his polyamorous relationship. But so Will Smith, he came out recently and he like released a book, and Danny said he thinks Will's gay.
My theory is he's gay with all the stuff where Jada's doing all the stuff, and then he's like, yeah, go.
I feel like I've heard that for years, and I don't like to get into God, but like I've always heard like, yo, Will Smith is gay.
Well, he says God bless. He doesn't approve of that.
Well, like
God wants to have a word with you, Will.
You're religious, right?
God loves the Fresh Prince, but
you're Christian?
Yes.
What do you think? Do you think God's down with gays, like when they get to heaven?
I mean, I don't think they
or is he on the fence?
I think God forgives people, but
are they gay or gay?
My thing is this, and not to preach, but I think like everybody has flaws and sins, but the weird part is like certain people, it's their whole identity. Where like you don't find people like, yo, this is what I do. I just bang my wife all the time. Like people are just like, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is my whole life.
Yeah, so, but if you're just normal dude,
I think God's like a far right wing. No, he's just like, no. He's like, go with the liberals in hell. No, I don't know.
That's you get to I
don't know. It's up to him. So.
You get to hell and it's just like fucking it's gonna be like Fauci and fucking Bernie Sanders. You get up there and he's like just Tucker Carlson. You're like, what the fuck? That's
he's at the gates just like, go to West Hollywood. This is not the right spot for you.
That's so fun. Well, that's like the Ben Shapiro thing. He's like if you're gay, it's if you don't act on it, it's the same as any other people. He's like, well, I want to, if you guys want to fuck all the other girls and you can't do that.
It's true.
You only have one. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately. That's what I was always saying. Like, you get one girl you hate like everybody else. When did you become religious?
I would say I was Catholic growing up, but I rejected it and became atheist because I felt like nobody was into it. It was forced.
It was cool back then because everyone hated it and you're like going against the grain.
Richard Dawkins. I was like, God's not real. I was that kid. It was super annoying. But then in college, I feel like...
You switched from like a Sam Harris atheist to like a...
I was super atheist. Then I got into like Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu's Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now, like mindset stuff. And I was like, oh, this is dope. And then I started saying universe. And I feel like over the last 3 years, not just politically, but socially, like...
You switched universe to God?
Yeah, and I think like the George Carlin liberals, like if George Carlin were alive, I don't think he'd even believe what liberals are doing or left-wingers because he was never right-wing, right? But he was always a truth teller and like saying political correctness was bad. But I think Christians and just a lot of like disciplined people have really aged well, you know, because that's the thing with me. I think there is value to discipline. So I rejected it when I was younger. You know, was talking about the universe and stuff, and then I just kind of was like, that's not, yeah. So
you don't think it was the universe? You're like, this is not a universe; it's a dude.
I might have to talk with Eddie Bravo. We could talk about some domature.
You know what?
You know, but I'm going to talk about the universe.
What's the domature?
The flat Earth stuff, right?
Are you into that? I'm a flat chester. Like, I believe that girls all have flat chests. Like, even if it's like a triple D, I go, nah, that's flat.
Yeah.
You call those
and they deserve to be respected, right? No matter how big or small.
Yeah.
No, I think they should rebrand because flat Earth sounds stupid, right? They're like, "Yo, this is a flat Earth." But
do you think the documentary guy out there is kind of like making it like he's kind of ruining it for the people that?
I just think flat sounds stupid, right? It's like, oh, it's not flat. Like, no one likes that. But if you call it a dome Earth, people's like, you're talking about like,
and that's what you think it is,
or snow globe Earth. I don't know that I think that, but I want to say everything that they do in space, like International Space Station and like Hubble Telescope, I realized on the NASA website, it's all within Earth's atmosphere. Like, that's not debatable. They don't just call space outside of Earth's atmosphere. Even in Earth's atmosphere is technically space. So, the only thing that humans have done that I've seen was like the moon landing. And it's just weird to hear their excuses. Like, the one guy's like, we would go back to the moon, but we lost the technology and it's like a painful process to build back again.
So you think the big thing is like, why don't they go back, right?
I'm skeptical. So I wouldn't say I'm not like, oh, this is my whole life, I believe this.
Why doesn't Elon Musk go to the moon or something?
He does a bunch of crazy stuff.
Well, just to be like, huh?
Well, he's like,
don't you go for conquest?
Do all this other crazy shit.
But if
he wants to go to Mars.
But wouldn't you think that
I think
that would be almost
Mars,
easy?
Well, if he goes to Mars, if he actually does the Mars thing, then I think the moon is like Mars is way harder to get to than the moon. I'm just
skeptical because all that stuff, it's like hard. Inside Earth's atmosphere is easy. They're doing it. Outside, it's a bunch of pictures and stuff where I want to just see a debate. And I'm just like, ask NASA, because first they said they didn't have the telemetry data. They deleted it, even though your cell phone's stronger than their computer. And then they're talking about like,
this is
just too many excuses.
Dude, it's like excuses. You don't know. I'm like too stupid, I guess, but I don't know. As soon as someone starts talking about telemetry data, I go, I don't know.
I mean, basically,
maybe it's flat then. I don't know.
The computer that they use to like,
that he is right that I don't know about the telemetry data.
It's like a fucking calculator watch. It's like it's like this. Your phone is 5,000 times more powerful than whatever they use.
It just doesn't make sense that they haven't, like, the excuses they give just sound goofy to me. So that's kind of where I am. Where if you don't cling on to either one, everybody wants you to pick a side. But I'm kind of just sitting there where I'm like, I want to see.
So you're saying, okay, there's some questions here. I feel like that's
questions about it. Like, people are like, oh, are there aliens? Are there this? I'm like, I have a lot of questions that they're never going to answer. But I could go outside and ask and be like, hey, I have some questions.
Dude, to me, I honestly do feel like that's 90% of conspiracies where you go, or theories, period, where the people have a beef. You're like, they're on to something fishy's going on here. Right. But then, a lot of times the conclusions people take it to is kind of, they get just as militant about the conclusions, and you go, that was just one version of what it could have been.
Right. And that's the problem, is the news is so fake and untrustworthy and crazy that people will cling to anybody who tells them what they want to hear, right?
Yeah, they find a new internet dad.
The election was stolen. Okay, yeah, okay, so I'm the new guy that's going to lead you to the place that you want to go. Oh, for sure. And it's like, dude, why do you trust that guy? Oh, well, he told me what I wanted to hear. I'm like, that's not a good reason. So I think that's what's happening, is people realize they're being lied to and they cling. That's why even with the space stuff, I'm not that opinionated, but I am like, I got questions. But
do you think it's kind of like, it's like, imagine you're like dating someone and it's like, you see something, like a girl sees something on this dude's phone being like, he was at, this area, and then someone's like, I'll tell you what, he's there. He's at fucking, there's a girl there, and there's a dorm room. He was at a dorm room, and then she goes, I'm on board. Like, that was her answer. It's all that. Someone comes in with like a pretty solid like theory for you.
Yeah. I would like to get high with Elon Musk, and he could set me straight. I'm like, dude, are you really sending Teslas into space with like, music playing? And,
just be like,
he's like, and then I feel like
get the scoop.
Yeah.
But don't people like him say like, no, the Earth is round?
Yeah, no. I just want to know with space, because I would tell him, I wouldn't even talk about the shape. I would just say like, how come we haven't gone back to the moon? Do you really think they don't have the technology?
Yeah.
Or?
No, they could, honestly, because the moon thing I feel would be weird, because say they went and they go, okay, fine, we're going to put this to rest, we're going to go back to the moon, and then they do it and like just to prove it, and then everybody like, that was a waste of money. You guys just spent all this money.
Someone dies, they crash,
or whatever. And people are like, and then they would do it. They do it, and then people would be like, why did you do that? And you're like, you wanted us to do it, and then.
Yeah.
Some people might think it's
money,
sick.
though. Yeah. They get like $20 billion, where it's like,
how much would it cost to go to the moon?
I don't know.
Not $20 billion.
There was one article that they said, "Oh, these women are going to space," and then they were like, "Oh, it's canceled because like the suit didn't fit." I'm like, "Did you not know that before the launch?" Like
the booty wasn't big enough.
These stories are just so dumb to me. They're like, "Oh, we sold the original tape at a garage sale or to an intern."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Did you really?" That would be like the Michael Jordan like jersey he won the 6th championship. And like, "Oh, I just lost it or taped over it." I'm like, "What? How did you do that?" So I can't tell if it's incompetence or maybe they just have some, military grade stuff they don't want to release, but they're definitely not going to tell me either way. I'm not the one they're
You're not
gonna
tapped
reveal
in.
it to.
You're not like tapped in where, how a lot of guys are like, yo, I got an inside source.
No, I don't want to be. People think, yo, I got I'm like, yo, get away from me then. I don't.
Why?
Well, I mean, in general, I don't like to be tied up with people's drama and stuff. And I'm not a whistle leaker. You know what I'm saying? They got Project Veritas and stuff for that. So sometimes, I'll listen to people, but if someone's like, yo, I got the whistle blow on the moon stuff, I'm like, bro,
last thing you want to do is like confidential stuff, and then you're like, I know shit I'm not legally allowed to know.
To go back to my analogy, that's the fucking guy at the party being like, I'm just cheating on my wife. You're like, yo, what are you telling me for?
I don't want to know.
Now I gotta know this.
Plus, I don't trust people who say they have sources, because I feel like, especially like in the last
Alex
2-3
Jones
years,
always got sources.
but now people think that makes them like special. Like it's like some.
You think everyone's got sources?
Like,
you go,
dude,
everyone in their grandmother's got
it makes you
sources.
feel like extra special. Where you're like, bro, I got this
does.
source, and maybe you do, but like, dude, I got this source.
You got an
like,
inside man?
I'm just saying the moon landing is the vaccine. I got a source, and you're like, what? And they're like, I got a source. I'm like, I don't believe it. They're like, so who are you working for? China? Huh? Yeah. And you're like, dude, I don't. Wait, how is that?
Plus, if it's unverifiable, you can always just be like, yeah, I got a source, and then if you can never prove it, you're just like, well, my source told me that, and.
Yeah.
Isn't there some? Yeah, that's the best. No, that's the oldest trick in the book from journalism. Even when they're doing hit pieces on everyone, they go, we have an unnamed source. It's like, okay, well, like,
I actually think the best thing that could ever happen is if they just start calling journalists like content creators. Like if you just like Brian Stelter or whatever, he's a content creator, not a journalist. They're all just like, even like, Tucker Carlson, content creator.
Yeah. Well, they are.
But the best would be like the guys on the right would be like, they would take it. The guys on the left, like the CNN people would melt down if you
telling Anderson Cooper he's a content creator,
he would fucking have a shit fit.
With the source, I guess it's who's trustworthy. Like if it's a friend you trust, or it's someone that if it's someone that exaggerates a lot.
Have you heard that some people say the moon doesn't exist? Like it's not the landing, like the actual moon doesn't exist?
I've heard
What's the theory there?
I can't speak on theories, but I know I've seen some guy with a heat gun, and he shot the heat gun in the moon in the moon shade, and he was like, you see it's a different temperature. He was trying to say it's got its own energy to make things colder. Man, I've gone down every rabbit hole, so I don't know that specific theory, but the moon. I guess
feel like I'm good at sophistry, where it's like I could fucking talk. You know when you're like someone's getting mad at you and you're just like talking, like you're just like blah 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 blah, and like when you say a lot of words, it kind of goes all right. Like I feel like I can see why it's so easy to convince people, but also you don't know what like no normal people can have that conversation because it requires such a high level of like understanding a million things.
Right.
So all you can do is like watch people and you go, which one of these two do I believe more, I guess?
It's like, it's really if you're really good at like sowing the seeds of doubt, right? Where you can kind of be like, you just kind of put a question in someone's mind. They go, maybe
you're straight, huh?
Yeah, they go, maybe the moon doesn't exist.
And that's
so
why
like I could see that in this one thing, and then you're like, you just put that little seed out, and they go,
With the space stuff, I've done a video on it where I just explain what I know and like all the weird stories, and that's all I say, right? So like you said, what do you think about the Earth? If I really wanted to give my theory, I would have to study astrophysics and really have a conclusion. If not, my opinion doesn't really matter, But I would say it's interesting when Bezos goes up in the air like 50, 60 miles, whatever it is. That's
to get away from his ex-wife.
That's all within Earth's atmosphere. Yeah, his ex-wife's, calling him. I think didn't he get like hacked by Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia hacked his phone.
They put this Trojan thing on his phone. Leave me alone.
I'm trying to go to space.
What happened? They put a Trojan?
They sent him a
Trojan condom for his new
Oh, he's definitely fucking good.
Dude, your dick's bigger in space, I'm pretty sure.
No, he got like someone... I think it's Saudis or something. Like they sent him an email, and he got like it was like a phishing scam, but they had access to his phone, like his like a key logger or whatever.
They're like, "Hey Jeff, give me your password." He's like, "Oh, seems legit."
It was a Nigerian prince, guys.
He opens his brokerage statement. It's just like zero. He's like, "Where's all my money?"
There's an article on space.com. I just thought of it when you said it, where it said maybe that the Earth's atmosphere goes out past the moon. So that's now a new theory. So I think similar to like COVID or climate change or the moon, these are things that like, oh, you don't question this stuff. But the science is always kind of growing because our understanding of these things is not finite. You know, you learn like, oh, that ice cap, we're learning more. But they say, oh, you can't question it. But it's like even the top, astroscientists are like, oh, it might go past the moon. You're like, well, that's a pretty big difference from the last theory. So they act like they're 100% certain, but they're not. But yeah, my opinion doesn't matter because I don't have a telescope and I don't understand the physics. So it's like,
no, you're right though.
I can't compete with that.
That's the move with everything. They go, oh, this is what it is. But like, yeah, you're okay. I know. I see it when I'm like, even with things you do know, where it's like you see all these people on the internet are fucking content creators talking about like, you know, economic stuff, so and I'm just like, dude, I know that that's not true from like year one of economics class. Like, you're just like, that makes no sense to like, I have a basic knowledge about this, and what you're saying makes no sense. So I can imagine if you knew about like fucking astronomy and you see one of these content creators out there saying some shit, and you go, huh? That's not true.
Yeah. Did you see my video today?
Then you start a cult. That's the next step.
Yeah. The Economist, like that's the name of the magazine or whatever article thing. They put out a thing that said the experts were like stunned that inflation hit and that the central banks and none of them saw it coming. And like my comment section is like, yo, I'm an electrician and I saw it coming.
Yeah,
like,
what do you mean? That's
you printed
insane.
money and locked the world down. What do you think was going to happen?
You printed 3 times the amount of money that ever existed before.
And the top economists at economist.com were shocked. So this is the type of gaslighting and lies where then people are like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to...
You know what? A lot of people like chalk stuff up to like, you know, like gaslighting and lies where it's like malicious. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I think a lot of people are just really incompetent. Like they're like, people are like...
That's the question.
Well, that's the question. Is like, are you just like... Because, well, when you say something like that...
I think they're
I'm
lying.
like, you can't like be at the people who read The Economist, like do not read that and be like, yeah, that checks out that you guys didn't think inflation was going to come. Like the type of person who reads The Economist, probably 95% of them probably saw inflation coming. Like,
well, we sort of have this debate a lot where it's like whether it is which of those two it is. But I think it's not incompetence. It's like the cognitive dissonance in their own head where they're like, I know what I have to say and I know who has to be good and who has to be protagonist and antagonist in this story. And then I'll find brain pathways to get there. Yeah. So they're like, you know, the same places that are like, yo, Trump's like screwed up the economy. And then the next thing will be like, it's actually not the president's like place to make the economy work. Yeah. You know, they'll do that kind of cognitive. I think that's the same thing with all those people. They're just like in their team trying to justify the same way that a girl with an abusive boyfriend's like, no, he's good. I'm telling you, like they have to.
The only thing I would say is maybe more of a conspiracy angle is maybe like the people were telling the people of The Economist, being like, yo, don't say that there's going to be inflation, because when they say there's inflation, it creates inflation.
Yeah, you think it'll make a run on it.
So maybe, yeah, they're just like, hey, just like stop. They're like, you're not allowed to talk about inflation at The Economist. And they go, okay.
I think someone, I don't know if it was MSNBC or one of those content creators.
Content creators.
MSNBC is the ultimate content creator.
No, that makes some. They create some content.
They are like literally like.
Do they have a TikTok?
That's generous to call MSNBC content creators. They're like the most.
Call them TikTok.
I honestly watch MSNBC. So it's like to the point where sometimes I'll be on the plane and you know they have like things, and then I'll turn on NBC just to see what's going on. But then after like 2 minutes, I'll be like, oh shit, someone might see me watching this. Like I get like embarrassed because like you're gonna think I'm like not watching this ironically. Like you're like they'll be like, look at this idiot watching MSNBC.
I feel like not watching anything because I just don't like to be pegged.
I know.
Like, even if you're like watching, like imagine you're like listening to a Rogan, you just anyone walks by, you're like, you don't know everything about me, because it's just like anyone sees you watching anything, they go, oh, you're one of those. You go, you don't know what those I am. Yeah. I am one of those. You didn't know which one.
The lady was like, I guess like don't eat a Thanksgiving turkey or like something about if
she says to save money on Thanksgiving, don't get a turkey.
Yeah. You're like, if you broke, sit this one out. You're like, thanks for the advice.
I was saying that to my chick, like, or tell her dad, and we go, call your dad and be like, hey, I just went to Trader Joe's in New York and a turkey's $2.50. Is that normal? Just like, I'm fucking Joe Biden. He said, like, just get him so fired up. Be like,
that's the thing. I've never bought a turkey, so I'm like, I don't know what they're supposed to cost.
They're up now though.
No, apparently, like I don't know. Again, I don't know if I haven't looked into it, but the Saki or whatever, she was like, yeah, a 20-pound turkey is $1 more than it was last year, which I'm like,
yeah, doesn't sound that bad to me.
Doesn't sound that bad for a 20-pound turkey.
Dude, you can sell copper wire right now for 3.5 pounds. So if you're looking to make some cash, there's money to be made, money to be spent.
Yeah, if you're broke, just get the cold cut turkey, you know? Oscar Mayer, $4. Yeah. Tell
Dude,
the
my
kids.
family right now, they're having legit arguments about whether or not they're going to have vaccine people there. And so it's like some people don't want to get it, and they're not even political. They're just like, whatever. I don't like, you know, I fucking sit in my house and play video games. I do a job. Like, I don't want to get it. And then it's people are arguing, and then they're just like, well, I guess we'll do our own ones and this and that. And I just like, I was like, you know what? Cancel this whole thing. You're right. Yeah. How about let's do a Zoom call?
Yeah.
He's like, it is kind of showing that no one really wants to do their family things to begin with. Cause it is very much like, even if you're like, no, this is crazy. Who wants to fight for it? Like, for the most part, you're just like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do all these obligations.
This will be happening at every.
Me and the dogs will get together.
Every household for sure.
That's the stress of even like walking in I haven't dealt with it, but like in LA, like I'm a nice guy, so I don't have to deal with that in a normal world where I'm not like beefing with people. But to get yelled at the second you walk in the door, you know, it makes you not want to go places. So yeah, if Thanksgiving is such a crazy hassle, then it's like, it's not worth it. But that's like,
it's not worth it already.
You have your mom being like, why won't you get vaccinated? You're like, I don't care. I'm not at risk. And they're like, well, but then you're ruining Thanksgiving. And you're like, well, you're vaccinated. And they're like, yeah. And they, you know, and they're just...
Well, I said that to even like, cause I'm vaccinated, and I go, like people in my family that like sit at home and do nothing and they're unvaccinated are less of a risk than me vaccinated, touring, shaking 400 hands a night. It's like,
I feel like you both could like finesse it though. That's the type. I'm the finesser. I could talk to both sides of the family, right? And I could like, but I feel like you guys can do that too, right?
Well, my finesse is that I hate doing shit, so I would just put it like I would kind of steer it towards let's cancel.
Yeah,
this.
you go, what the fuck, this Nazi?
Yeah, I go, this is crazy. We're gonna actually be in a household with someone who's. Why don't we just not do any of this stuff?
Turkey dinner with a white supremacist.
I like that strategy.
Yeah, I would totally just steer it. Just completely
cancel. We're going to take a second here just to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Our first one coming through, Daniel Polshuk's favorite, Mint Mobile.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. Danny's been talking about Mint Mobile far before they were sponsoring the cast. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile, you buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. So they got a hot deal coming up. We didn't have a deal last time at Mint Mobile, so this time they're coming with a big 3 months free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month, which we almost didn't believe was real, but it's real.
Yeah, it's like that's what you used to charge for fucking voicemail in Canada.
Danny's been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say it's the perfect time to switch. So Mint Mobile's offer of the year is here for a limited time. Buy any 3-month plan and get 3 more months free. We got to keep telling you about Mint Mobile. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. With Mint Mobile, choose the amount of monthly data that's right for you and stop paying for data that you'll never use. Switch to Mint Mobile and get, for $15 a month, get premium wireless service. For a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free. MintMobile.com/BoysCast. That's mintmobile.com/BoysCast. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month plus the deal. mintmobile.com/BoysCast.
It's basically free.
Next, we're going to tell you again about Talkspace, who has been a new sponsor of the BOYSCAST. And it's a better time than ever to check it out for anyone that might have fears that keep people from seeking help with their mental health. So whether that's the fear of opening up to a stranger, the thought of friends or family judging you or treating you differently. So Talkspace makes it possible to speak to a licensed therapist right from your phone, tablet, or computer. And unlike traditional therapy, you can get messages from your therapist anytime via text, video, or voice. It's 100% secure, stigma-free, the way therapy should be. So a lot better than having to go in or even do it on Zoom. This is a convenient, stigma-free experience. You know, meeting with a therapist should just be like going to the dentist or something like that. Go to a personal trainer. So they've made it very easy. Talkspace makes it easy to connect, privately and you just do it whenever you want. All the benefits of therapy, but you don't have all the hassle of setting appointments, waiting a week, all that sort of stuff. So Talkspace, privacy and security is their number one priority. The app that puts you in a private room with just you and your therapist. You can send messages 24/7 and get the replies throughout the day. No need to wait for a weekly appointment. So whatever's happened, whether it's a chick, whether it's life, whatever it is, facing obstacles isn't always easy. And you don't win a prize for just doing it by yourself. So if you are going through some shit right now, don't leave your mental health a chance. An amateur advice of well-meaning friends and family might not be the way to solve your problems. So talk to someone who's trained to help you and make lasting progress. Join Talkspace today and start moving forward with a single message. So what you do is visit Talkspace.com and you get $100 off your first month for free when you use the promo code BOYSCAST at sign up. That's $100 off at Talkspace.com/BOYSCAST. All right, back in the episode.
Cancel everyone.
So back to our conspiracy. The conspiracy that Danny's proposing that you've heard is that Will Smith is gay.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm no one, but
Does Project Veritas has Project Veritas covered that?
No, I've just heard it from people like in passing, like, bro, he's gay and does gays, like, and I'm not gonna get
sort of like how Kanye was like,
I've heard that for 10 years.
Yeah, so I said it on the podcast a few weeks ago because of the Jada Pinkett thing or whatever, where she was saying, like, she was fucking all these guys and he just kind of is like, yeah, go ahead. And then, but in the comments, everybody's like, yeah, I've been hearing this. So I'm not, that's not unique to me. But then this thing came out.
So basically that was the inklings that he's gay and people were kind of dunking on him.
It just makes sense though, you
and apparently legitimately he did say at one point, he goes, I want someone to look at, I wanted Jada to look at me the way that she used to look at Tupac or something like that. Like there's keeps being these quotes coming out. But so this is what he basically his thing is, and he's like, not only am I not gay, he came out and he was like, dude, I was crushing so much pussy. But he goes, Will Smith revealed he once developed a psychomatic relation. Are you laughing because I can't read?
No, it was just a funny word. But now I can act like I'm snarky and be like, oh, dude,
he's laughing because I can't read.
It was just, I was thinking of the story, how he's throwing up. But
he goes, psychosomatic relation, some psychosomatic alakazam. Who's that? Was that Insane Clown Posse? Prodigy, psychosomatic reaction to orgasms after engaging in rampant sexual intercourse to deal with being cheated on by his first girlfriend. And he basically said that he was he said he was puking after, like he would have sex with a girl and puke just because he was fucking too much. Have you ever had that, Danny?
No.
Yeah.
He's like, I did it. I barfed on my dick again.
I've never heard that either from anyone. Have you ever heard that from like a friend?
Where he goes, dude, dude, I love pussy so much. How much do you love it? I fucking puked on the girl.
I keep puking.
You've been drinking a lot. No, I'm sober. I'm just
so I just keep throwing up.
Do you think Will Smith potentially has been taking the medication, the dopamine blockers?
Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was because he's a Scientologist, so I was like, maybe there's a Scientology angle on all this.
Is he in it?
I thought he was.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
I like the Scientologists because they cleaned up Hollywood. They were one of the people they'd come around and like sweep it. So I was like, yo, they're good.
I will say their pamphlets very convincing because some chick in Toronto had like Scientology pamphlets like that they just gave to her. She wasn't even, well, maybe she was, I don't know, but she goes, I read the pamphlets. It was like a Gary V pamphlet.
Yeah.
Like it was not religious at all. It was very like, yo, you need to fucking get your life together. It was very like, yo, you should be a millionaire. You should be a billionaire. It's like, you need to rise. It was basically rise and grind.
Yeah. It was like Tony Robbins.
It was Tony Robbins.
And then they have this like weird sci-fi angle and you're like, this is...
I'll say this.
It really is that.
I don't know the bad stuff they're doing, but as someone who, I don't judge them. I don't really try to judge anyone and like, oh, I hate all of you. I know a lot of Scientologists. They all have a great mindset. They all have like amazing personal skills. They all seem super cool. They're against big pharma. They have this whole thing in Hollywood where they like try to stop kids from taking pharmacy pills. They cleaned up my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I'm not in it. Yeah. And like they do get annoying with the calls and stuff, you know, like
do they do calls here?
Well, I knew someone in Scientology, so someone got my number and I told my friend, hey,
there is a kind of like there is like an MLM kind of like angle, like the multi-level marketing where they're like, you know, you
gotta sign up 5 more people.
You sign 5 more people.
And once you're in, right, don't they just harass you all the time?
They're trying to just like you want to upgrade or whatever, you got to like pay all the money and.
But they're smart and they're definitely like outside the box. So I prefer them to like my neighborhood was disgusting. They would clean it up all the time. So
what would they do? Like they would just actually come and clean?
Yeah, just pick stuff up. Yeah, just like
that's part of being a Scientologist. You have to be a garbage picker.
5 Scientologists deep picking up stuff. Same with like ex-convicts. This woman would go with ex-convicts that picks stuff up. I like them because I'm like, this neighborhood is going to trash, and you guys, I would talk to them, and they definitely are like very heavy against Big Pharma. They have this Museum of Death, it's called, on in Hollywood, and they just have a whole museum of like the history of the pharmacy industry. It's amazing.
Why are they so against? That's got to be the low level guys that when you first start, they make you clean garbage and then you move your way up.
Yeah, I can't imagine the top guys out there cleaning.
Isn't
trash.
the conspiracy they have secrets about everyone? That's kind of the idea, that you can't leave because like they got all your secrets.
People
kind of like
say
Epstein
that.
style, basically.
I think it is kind of like you're not supposed to leave once you're in. Like you're locked for life.
We told you all this shit.
That's why this stuff Will's coming out.
We
probably.
helped you. What are you doing? Why are you turning on us?
Because maybe that's why all this Will Smith stuff's coming out. Maybe he didn't do what they. He didn't want to do his shift to the garbage pickers.
I think they're against, I don't know if all drugs, but I think all drugs. Like they have like a strict like anti-drug, so anti-pill. They're not about, so I failed early on. I was like, can I smoke weed? No.
Oh, you tried it?
No, I'm just kidding. I was just smoking on the street, and they were like, we don't even want, they stopped passing the pamphlets out and just shooting.
It's so funny, they're we can't get to this guy. We can't help him.
I'm Hollywood sober, baby.
No, I was chatting with like people that were in it, but they're always trying to like bring you into it type of thing. And one time they called me, and I told my friend, don't have them call me again. And they never did. So, They're cool with me. I think I'm the only person in the world that actually likes them, like Scientologists outside of themselves. No one says anything nice about them.
I think no.
Bad PR.
You know what? You're
like
right,
them.
but I feel like they had their like moment where they were the most hated, like everyone, and part of the like vegans were the most hated for a second. Now you kind of like an eye roll. Like Scientologists, there was a moment where they were the punchline of everything. I feel like that's less now.
Yeah, there was those documentaries. There was like 2
documentaries didn't work good for us.
All these massive like HBO documentaries come out that it's like, we uncovered this secret thing, and so everybody, finds out all the shit about them, and then it goes away.
Them and the Freemasons, they just dipped out. Everyone was talking about Freemasonry in 2008. No one even talks about it anymore. And then same with like Scientologists. It was a thing, and like they went out the back door, and they're like, all right, you got Kyle Rittenhouse. They're probably on the moon or something. They're probably in Antarctica laughing hysterically.
Freemasons basically every 20 years, I think they are like
South Park goes on.
Freemasons. Well, they were like in The Simpsons with the Stonecutters, were basically Freemasons, and then they just have a thing where it's like kind of everywhere.
But there is some that are like low level Freemasons where they just basically like get together at Legion Hall and drink and play pool.
It is, yeah.
And you're like, these guys are running the world. They're like running the. I work at the fucking bank, dude.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of like probably at the church where everyone's like, oh, Freemasonry. Where of course, but if you just go to a church, you don't hang out with the Pope. It's like you're like, dude, you're at the church, like, dude, you know the Vatican, and you're like, dude, not this church, dude.
Yeah, Scientology did get it, but well, I guess all these guys are in that. But this is what he says. He goes, I had sex with so many women. It was so constitutionally disagreeable to the core of my being. And that one of the reasons is because he was like, I'm supposed to be a one woman man. I love this girl, and I'm fucking cursed with being this pussy.
Well, no,
that's his explanation.
Well, I guess he's saying because
your explanation is good.
Well, I guess he's just he had this agreement, so she's like, well, I'm gonna go.
No, this is before this. So the bottom line of the story is he goes, back in the day, I dated this girl and she cheated on me and broke my heart. And then I went on a fucking Will Smith, Big Willie Styles rampage. But I knew that I wasn't supposed to be a tearing up pussy rampage guy. So he was tormented, like, having a threesome with 2 girls, being like, I'm not this guy. That's what he's selling in this debacle.
Did he really say constitutionally?
That honestly sounds like a Jordan Peterson, like something Jordan Peterson would say.
Sounds like Ben Franklin just fucking too many women. He's like, constitutionally, I'm not supposed to do this.
Ben Shapiro also, you could see him with like an orgy with 6 women being like, what am I doing?
This is not in the Constitution.
That's what he says. The reaction to this orgasm, it would make him gag and vomit. So the funny part is the orgasm and the cum and the puke happen at the same time.
Fluids at once.
So he goes, coming and puking at the same time. Bro, that's so fucking funny.
Him and the Parkinson's guy are in this lane of like, I'm not buying the story completely, but I feel bad at the same time.
There's more to this.
There's something more to it.
These are both definitely like there's more to it.
He's coming and puking.
You think
he
ever
time?
pukes and then he comes? He goes, I have food poisoning, and he fucking goes,
Dude, it's so gross.
Dude, I fucking love the Will Smith stuff so much. He goes, So basically he goes, he revealed that after the girl was unfaithful to him, he resorted to excessive, indiscriminate ways of sex. In every case, he hoped to God this beautiful stranger would be the one that would love him, make his pain go away, he writes. And invariably, there I was, retching and wretched, and look in the eyes of the woman was forever deepened by my agony. So gay or not, you think, based on that sentence? He goes, looking in the women's eyes was just further deepening my agony. And his idea is that it's nothing to do with me and gay. It's like, oh, I'm just a one woman man.
Yeah, he's like,
but then he has a polyamorous relationship with the girl, so it doesn't even really make sense.
This was a long time ago, I guess is what he said?
No, he has this, he's saying back then, but it still doesn't make sense. But then he has...
So basically she forced him, so he's like, this disgusted him, and then he's like, I finally found a woman. Was married for a while, and then she goes back to this old gagging lifestyle.
So that's the thing, is why didn't the gagging go away?
He wrote that, like, wretched in agony. Those are his words.
This is in his new, like, in a
sounds like
memoir.
he, like, raped himself. Like, he raped himself.
That's what he's trying to pitch.
It's like, dude, it's scary listening to, but it was like him doing it, so it's like, bro, just
But he is, like, untouchable,
it,
because, like, he's still, like, you know, all this stuff comes out, his reputation, like, doesn't really...
There's some real good stuff about the girl.
I like Will Smith.
He's my top 5 favorite action stars. I would say it's Will Smith, Steven Seagal. It changes a little bit. Sometimes The Rock's in there. Sometimes Statham's in there. Who would you put in your top 5? I would definitely go. I would say Chuck Norris is in and out too. But the staples are Seagal, Will Smith.
I'm not really an action guy.
Maybe.
He's a likable guy, definitely. Like,
nah, Schwarzenegger a little bit. Not Stallone though. Stallone's crappy. But anyways, he goes... Elsewhere in his memoir, Will, who's now 53, details aspects of his sex life with Jada Pinkett Smith. He reveals when he first started sex with her, recalling how determined he was to try to satisfy her in the early days of the relationship. I started to wonder if it was a competition. Either way, as far as I was concerned, there were only 2 possibilities. 1, I was going to satisfy this woman sexually, or 2, I was going to die trying.
Oh my gosh.
Why is he writing this?
Yeah, you're not like some dude over the hill. You're like currently super famous. Like,
how much of a nightmare?
Like, what is this for?
I was just going to ask you, would you ever write a book like that? I'm trying to think of myself. Like,
this seems like the kind of thing where you're like a guy who you're like, yeah, I was the biggest movie star in the world 10 years ago, and I'm trying to get back in like relevancy.
Saying wild shit.
And you like wild shit, and you're like, you're the man now. You don't need to do.
Oh my goodness!
How funny is it that he's just in there, and she's just looking at her watch? And so
the sparks, he's got the fucking welder's mask on. He's just getting to work.
He's probably eating her out for 10 hours at a time. Oh, Mrs. Pinkett, are you pleasured adequately? That's so.
What was 50 Cent's thing? Get rich or die trying? He's like, fuck my wife or die trying.
Yeah.
Or like,
give her
my wife. Give her an orgasm or die trying.
Dude, he goes,
that's the new album. That shit's fire.
So crazy though. That would be a fucking nightmare. And he goes, in a bid to rediscover himself and a search for clarity after the split, Will writes that he visited a tantric sex expert in Trinidad. So when he's in his puking fits. So this is when he's trying to pleasure her. Anytime he has sex with someone else, he's puking. Then he goes to this tantric sex expert. He goes, I'm rich, I'm a millionaire. He's like, how much would it take? I just want to give her one orgasm. I want one fucking night of pleasure. How much?
Do you think they have sex? Like, does that person have sex with you to show you, or they just like tell you?
That's a good question.
Right? They're like, here, let me show you, and then you cheat on your wife with the tantric person.
Because what does the tantric
my job.
guy do unless you're also like having sex?
Right? They just tell you, like, put your finger here, or they're like, well, here, just try with me. And
you have to, right?
Or he's like, yeah, just call me when you're doing it, and I'll guide you through it.
It sounds like this dude.
Put me on speakerphone.
He goes, okay, I'm down there. What am I looking for exactly?
And he did ayahuasca, so it does sound like this dude brought him in, made him fucking do drugs, and then he's like, yeah, dude, you all hold your hips and shit. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Like the putting, like he's like, just, I don't know.
It does seem like, okay, yeah, what you're going to want to do with your dick, here, I'll just guide it in there. Like, you just grab that for you.
Yeah, let me get it out for you.
And he goes, what the coach was doing essentially was cleaning out my mind, letting me know it was okay for me to be who I was. And he told GQ, it was, he was also dating Halle Berry at the time, smashing her. And he goes, it was okay that Haley is fine. It was okay to think that Haley is fine. It doesn't make me a bad person that I'm married. And I also think Haley is beautiful. Whereas in my mind, in my Christian upbringing, I thought there was sin. So basically, guys in Hollywood, they go to this guy and they're like, listen, I have a wife and I'm fucking all these other girls. And he goes, yo, you're good, dude. That kind of sounds like what this dude is.
He's like, no, but I'm a Christian. He's like, dude, you're good. He's like, I got the Bible version of this here. You're like, you sure? He's like, yeah, you're good, dude.
It's basically, instead of going to like a confession, you go to this guy and he tells you you're sick.
Yeah, you're sick. You're the best. And he goes, yeah, I thought so.
He goes, put your fingers through the hole of the confession. He goes, nah, you're good, dude.
What do you think about that? Say like you're in a faithful marriage, like, you know, he's like, oh, I think she's beautiful. Like, how can I not? Like, is that
that's obvious.
How do you not do that?
Yeah,
right?
thinking they're beautiful is one thing, but it's like, obviously he's actually having sex with the girls and he's kind of like, you know, and I shouldn't feel guilty that I thought she was hot. It's like, also you were fucked her a bunch.
Her too, and I'm just like looking at her. I was like, oh yeah, I'll add that next line. I thought that was given.
Yeah, so basically you go there and this dude just tells you you're fucking sick. But so you would go verdict, you think he's on the low?
Yeah. Also, YouTube right now having a field day with your pronunciation of Halle Berry.
What did I say?
Haley. You said it 3 times.
Shit.
Really fucking going.
You know what? We take a 5-second break. I gotta take a piss. Super bad.
Yep.
I think he's bi, and I don't like to start rumors and stuff, but people seem like that was always the thing that people were.
Yeah,
saying
I know.
For some
Well,
reason.
I didn't even know that, and then afterwards, like a lot of people were basically like, "Yeah, they've been saying that forever," and he did that. Separation or whatever, 6 Degrees or something. He did that movie where he plays this gay like con artist in the 90s, and then people were like, he that's how he got it, or I don't know. Lots of theories.
That's got to be wild though, because like a lot of these actors get in this crazy zone to play like these roles, and if he's just playing a gay dude for like 2 years straight, I bet that has happened to Hollywood people. I bet
that
that's
was
right.
Who are we talking? Our friend knows Sean Penn. Like she knows Sean Penn's son or whatever. I don't know if I can say this, but I could probably say it, whatever. I'm not gonna say the friend, but she shows. But like, so Sean Penn was like when he was doing like fucking what's the word he plays the mentally?
Milk.
No. Where he plays the mentally.
Another one. Yeah.
I Am Sam or whatever, and he's like a method actor.
Yeah.
So he's like, my dad is just like mentally challenged for the next 6 months,
right?
And he's like doesn't like break character.
That's so crazy.
Like, that's insane. Like you're like, that guy like. Get some eggs, and he's like, "What are eggs?" And you go, "Fuck."
Method acting seems nuts.
And think about like, okay, you work out for over a long period of time to get stronger, and it works when you do it often. If you're pretending to be a gay character for 2 years and you're in that zone for 2 years, I guarantee that it's turned actors gay in the same way that it's driven actors crazy. So I feel like there's a lot of gay actors that weren't gay because
who plays gay roles though? Like that's not very common.
Will Smith did. That's the thing.
What role did he play?
In 6 Degrees. I think it's called 6 Degrees of Separation from the 90s. He played this con man who was like,
you don't think
he was
that
like in the streets or whatever.
You're saying, but there's also a chicken egg situation where they're like, hey, there's this role, you got to like kiss a bunch of dudes in it, and you know what I mean? And you go, I guess I could do that.
Yeah.
You know, he's calling the other guy, being like, "Hey, you want to get together and go over scenes?" Read some
and I remember it
lines?
was a big deal at the time too, because I think he did kiss a guy in the movie.
To me, acting's always been a weird thing because, like comedy, you're saying what you think. Well, I'm podcasting, live streaming, whatever. I say what I think. These people are pretending to be people they're not, and then they're also recognized for people that they aren't. Like people are like, "Oh, dude, I've seen your comedy." Like, "Oh, dude, you're Iron Man." It's like, bro, he's not Iron Man. He's just like a normal, he's like an actor. So that's a weird thing to just do in general that no one really thinks about. So if you're playing these characters all the time, it probably drives a lot of people crazy.
That's what I like the best action stars that are that guy. That's my favorite. And that's why Arnold, I don't like him as much now because I feel like he's kind of not the guy he portrays. Whereas like Steven Seagal, that's why he's my favorite because like he really does believe, or at least he thinks he's that guy. Yeah. Like if you said to him like,
doesn't he do karate or something?
Yeah, even Mark Wahlberg was sick when he was kind of like, you know, if they try to if I was on the plane at 9/11, I would have beat the guys up. Yeah. Like obviously you're an idiot, but at the same time you're like, that's why you're fucking wicked. Like
he thinks he's that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea that I'm watching an action star who he's acting, but he's like, I mean, obviously I can't kill him for real, but I could.
But you still like Jingle All the Way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Arnold's made some bangers for sure. Oh, yeah. But in real life, he's like, so funny. He thinks he's a smarty pants.
He's gotten lame, right?
Yeah, he's kind of.
Oh yeah, he was doing like an Orange Man Bad tour for a while. And then he's also like, he's kind of does the thing where he says what everyone agrees, but like in a mean, like in a just like a bad way. He'd be the kind of guy that's like, I don't care what anyone says, like drugs are fucking bad. Like when he swears, like telling you that drugs are bad.
Did you see him in the COVID thing? He was in this like hot tub and he was just like, we're all in this together. Okay. He did one of those like stay home
things. He has like a
things.
Donkey or something, or he has like a horse. Like
I didn't see.
He has
that
like
one,
he does these videos and he's like, yeah, it's like a horse.
I'm just like you. I have a donkey horse.
Yeah,
hybrid.
he goes, I have my own.
You know,
I have a
everyone
miniature
can relate
horse
to
in my
this.
kitchen.
Yeah.
What? So you have a donkey horse hybrid? He's like, yeah, just like
we're all-
workers, right?
yeah,
Stay
yeah,
home
yeah.
with me. You're like, bro, this is not relatable, dog.
No, he isn't. And he was like, and especially, it was even more annoying from him because he like got the pass that other people, like he was an actor that like went being like a Republican governor. And then it was like anyone that was kind of doing anything like what he did 10 years ago, he was kind of doing what the comedians do when they do like edgy stuff and then denounce everyone behind. Cause anyone that would kind of say something remotely not in agreement with the narrative, he'd be like this. And it was like, dude, if you were doing what you did like now, everyone would be saying that about you, that you're like you'd have some other a you from 10 years ago being like,
that's the funniest thing with like the George Carlin, wherever, like, because everybody like super liberal people are like, well, George Carlin said this. It's like George Carlin would not be in favor of vaccine mandates.
Right.
But the problem with a guy like him,
they're like, well,
too,
yes, he would.
is he was alive long enough. For one, the comments are always different in the context of that period.
Right.
But two, he was also a comic for 30 years and said a lot of stuff in a lot of different periods. And then people get to pick and choose to make him seem like they agree with him.
Yeah, of course they pick and choose, but you're like, I'll tell you two things that he was not. He was not pro-government or pro-pharma. Like,
right.
He was never,
or
you know,
pro-police policing.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He was
None of those things. And everybody,
no, but he did.
They take like a second clip.
But this is the thing. He said both over his career because he did say he was like political correctness is just like, you know, being an just
fascism with manners,
right? Exactly. But he also said that people like Andrew Dice Clay, he thought that they were just like using comedy to be racist. So he's like. He's said like all versions of it. And the truth is like, it depends on the thing in the context. Like sometimes, you know, we probably said some version of like, oh, these fucking this specific comic, like, no, he just actually kind of wants to say the N-word, or he doesn't know how to do comedy. So he's just saying this shit to be like shocking because he's bad at comedy. Yeah, whatever. Sure. Sometimes it's all of them. Like this, there's no like, it's always this one or it's always that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think him and he's different from Alan Watts, but they were people that were like super philosophical. But I feel like maybe they didn't see this coming, or maybe they did. But the way the left, because it used to be, at least when I grew up, the right that was like always trying to speech police and you can't say that.
Yeah.
And now
they still are a little bit now.
For sure. And like they'll be like, oh, we're free speech, but if you say a few things that they don't want to hear, they
make a pedophile joke, see how much they like it.
Yeah. But I think so Carlin, it would have been interesting to see how he grew up. Like Noam Chomsky, he was all against this stuff, but now he's like 90 and he's just like, get the vaccine or die or something, like shit like that. And you're like, damn, if he would have passed away earlier, I would have been like, oh, he would have been against this, but
sure. You know what?
Right.
I believe the truth is, no matter how great these people are, usually when they get old, they're fucking have bad opinions one way or the other. Like even, you know, John Cleese lately has been like, this woke stuff is stupid. And it's like, feels like a clunky old guy dealing with this shit. Or you go the other way where you're like, everyone's a Nazi, like Rob Reiner, and you feel like a clunky old guy. Like, bro, dude, it is crazy. Hard to be like, so.
Mel Brooks is like the only sane old guy Mel Brooks is like, yeah, we're coming out with Blazing Saddles too. Well, you're like, Mel, you're alive?
The truth is.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he wants to do all this crazy shit.
The truth is, any old guy that's sane at 70 probably just ain't talking about this shit anymore. Yeah, he's probably like just living his 90, life and maybe come out every now and then. But I think any 75-year-old that feels compelled to like really, really be in the like conversation still usually is fucking gonna have crappy takes and fucking opinions.
Yeah. I mean, the John Cleese thing is like, I think he's actually pretty consistent. He's kind of always, it's just.
Yeah, but it's just like he almost it feels like.
It just because it's an old guy saying it. But you're like, he's like, yeah, I don't know. They've been policing my speech for ever.
I hope we don't get like that.
We will. You of course you do. Dude, I'm like that with music now. Like, I remember you're a fucking musician. Weren't at one point you were like really on the pulse? Yeah, maybe you still are because you are a musician, but like
I have that old man energy where I'm like, oh, this stuff's too much.
These mumble rappers.
I was just listening to like Hootie and the Blowfish in the car. Yeah. I'm getting old. Yeah. Oh, like, dude, Darius Rucker really crushes. They're like, who? They're like Lil Pump. I'm like, never mind. I'll just hang out by myself.
Yeah, but know what I feel like the thing that you lose is. Not that even that you don't like it or whatever, but the reason you can't describe why. Like, it's like when people go, oh, this guy sucks and I don't even know why people like him. You're kind of like, yeah, exactly. You don't understand why people like him. Like, you should be ashamed of that.
Yeah.
It'd be like, I get why they like him because of this and this and this. It really isn't my thing, but it's not even that. They're like, it's crazy that people like this. You're like, yeah, because you don't get it anymore.
I mean, kids these days. It's just like everybody's always going to be like, at some point, going to be like, kids these days.
But you can still be on the pulse of different things. But you're missing the thing. Like, to be a kid in high school and you're around everyone all the time and all that stuff, like, as an adult, I think, like, our age, like, you kind of are around other conversations. But if to be around the like super like the music, like YouTube, TikTok stars, you'll never be every day. You have 10,000 people around you that are all kind of like have the pulse.
Yeah,
I'm less of a hater now. I used to hate more. I liked lyrical rap, but
who's your big like?
I like Outkast.
We do a lot of.
I grew up. I liked Atmosphere. I liked Eminem. Obviously, when
Did you like Necro? Good. We were talking about him the other day.
I actually went to a Chinese restaurant with Necro, but
come on,
I didn't grow up listening to him. But bro, he's so funny. Like he's
Necro
so
rules.
over the top. But like normally, if I didn't know him, I'd be like, "Yo, this is too much." But he's so fucking funny. I was laughing the whole time, bro. I love him. My friend owns a hip hop blog, and he's like, "Let's go get Chinese food." We're sitting at a table. He's a wild dude.
What kind of stuff did he have? Like chicks? Did he have like a bunch of girls?
We had a
did
bunch. He was rolling deep.
Did he have chicks?
We were rolling 10 deep between everybody, but he was funny, man, and he was just like an outrageous person. You know what I'm saying? Like just like the way, but seemed very genuine and dope though.
But he was in the character.
He was just funny, man. Like, he would do something that normally, if I was with someone I didn't like, I'd be like, yo, that's kind of rude or that's, like, over the top. But it was so funny that, like, it's kind of like comedy. Like, oh, you say something super about this race, but it's not funny. And it's like, oh, that seems kind of racist, bro. But if it's hilarious,
yeah, if it kills,
like, oh, it's so
funny.
So that's how I just felt like he was, like, saying wild shit, just, like,
funny.
loud enough for everyone to hear. And I'm just like, douche. You know, I felt like I was a kid.
Yeah.
He's really funny, yeah.
He's clearly funny. Like, all those songs were like a comedic brain. You could just tell.
He's a funny guy. Seemed like a nice guy, too.
He got fat, too, eh?
Listen,
I mean, he's still around, I guess. Like, he's still kicking.
I don't know if it was a buffet thing, but let's just say we had a lot of food. Everybody ate good. I believe he even got the bill, if I remember correctly. A stand-up
Necro is
guy.
the man like that?
Yeah, good guy, from what I remember.
So is that guy, and then, like, Atmosphere. Who's like the number, there's this guy we were trying to think of, but is the number one, like, philosophies, hypocrisy. I know that's Wu-Tang, I think, right?
Yeah,
but, like, and then Dirt Nasty does a good
Lyrical,
one.
spiritual, miracle, cereal.
Who's lyrical?
Cereal.
And
you're like,
you got it. That's the one. Lyrical, spiritual, miracle.
I don't know. That's just like the funniest, most plain. You're like, dude, I'm a lyrical rapper. I'm like, it's not just
Lyrical,
about three
spiritual,
syllables. You got to say so. You can't be talking about like oatmeal and cereal. Like, it's not that cool. So some people, they'd have the rhyme scheme down, right? But they wouldn't have the words. They'd be like, man, it's a miracle. I'm so spiritual. Yeah, we've never heard that one.
Triplet raps always. Those guys like the
it's dope, but yeah, you got to say something with it, right? You're just saying a lot of nothing. I don't know. I like that one. I hated everybody else, but as I got older, I started to realize, okay, like someone like Chief Keef, like why is it dope? Because I started liking him, like the melody and like the style. So that helped me a lot, I think, in life. Just to stop being such a hater. And I think in comedy, it's like if you identify what you don't like, then you always got to just make what you do like. And I was spending too much time identifying what I didn't like, right? So
and
now,
also, like, you're spending too much time, like, by intellectually describing things based on the framework when you were young. That's why, like, well, we were going to say this, but, like, Mark Maron, I actually listened to the full thing, because he went on and I feel like whenever you're, like, debating, like, things comics said, it's like, you try to do it, like, respectful.
Yeah.
But
they're watching.
No, it's like, it's a little bit that, but a little bit, like, it's there's like a level of like respect for any
and
great
treat them
comic
how you
person.
want to be treated probably too, right? Because you're used to people probably saying certain things. So.
Yeah, but then I'll probably be, next episode I'll be like, fucking Nanette sucks or whatever, right?
What?
Did you know, are familiar with Nanette too? Hannah
No.
Gatsby, probably the greatest.
Hannah Gatsby, I saw her preview.
One of the greats.
I just like sat there and I just kind of, it was like SNL when Elon Musk. I was just like, I didn't laugh, but I was just confused. I was like, damn, that could almost be like a Babylon Bee parody. Like of like a woke comedian.
I know.
It was kind of like, I felt like I was detached from where I was like, is this a parody? Oh no, this is a real,
Well, he went on
for me.
I mean, the craziest thing is you're like, this is not for me, but also you're like, this is 500,000 people's favorite comedian of all time.
No, they're lying.
I'm sure they are, but you'll never
They're
get
lying.
them to.
They're lying the way that I used to say.
Them to admit.
Dude, when I was young, I used to say I liked bands I didn't like. There was some bands where I just knew they were cool to like. And then when
I'm
I grew
not
up,
saying
I'm like,
that
I gotta admit it, I didn't like them.
There are a lot of people. Dude, she's going to sell out. She'll do a theater tour and sell it out in a minute.
It'll be people that like they're crying, laughing before the punchline. She's like, "Well, President Trump," like, "Oh," and she's like, "Yeah, he did something bad." They're like, "Oh my," you know, they're like
her.
They're just ready to like get that out of them. Like, "F yeah, screw these people. I'm here at the Hannah show."
Yeah, it's so funny because you're like, some people go to comedy because you're to hear things that are like, you know, these forbidden things that you're not allowed to say, but then you go to see her and she's like, Trump's bad, and they're like, yeah, finally someone's saying it.
Well, he was kind of going, his main theme was like, the gist of it was like, all these people just like, they just want to say racist, sexist things, and society keeps pushing and they're pushing back. And it's like, all these people, you're just like, I get kind of how you
Does
could
he use
see
any
that.
specific examples?
Well, they built a whole theory about it because he was kind of like, you know, for example, when people were, you know, when before the people wanted to say the N-word and they said, oh, we can't do blackface. And then there was always the progressives pushing against that. And then Irish people came here and they had their union that was pushing against the stereotypes of Irish people. And then, so the way that he was kind of like, look at all the times in history. But the problem is he picked times in history where it actually was way more racist, right? And then on top of that, it's like, what the biggest thing that I think that these people miss is that you're making fun of them. It's like these like kind of like liberal Hollywood people being like, oh, you just want to say the thing. And it's like, no, we're making fun of you.
Yeah.
The like Hollywood stoop person that's like, I will tell you what opinions you can have. Like, you're the target.
Was he talking about like Chappelle though? Like, was he like any specific comedian?
He did not mention Chappelle.
Okay.
He wasn't really going too hard on people. He was kind of like, I would say, in my opinion, he was essentially hinting at like the Rogan universe,
sure,
being like, you know what I mean?
Rogan's like,
but being like
guy.
the kind of,
yeah, people are
you know,
like,
comedians
who way too far.
The comedians who are like, oh, it's too sensitive. That's kind of woke. That's bad. Like that was the gist of his philosophy, was that these people are just kids. And he was like, I used to say subversive stuff, and I realized that it hurt people's feelings, and that's now I don't do it. But you're just like, it's so much more complicated than that. And the same thing where he's saying that, he's just decided what targets are acceptable, because the same way you go, would you go make fun? He goes, it hurt their feelings. I realized, okay, well, what if you go shit on the Catholic Church for 10 minutes and it fucking hurts someone's feelings? Is that feeling okay to hurt?
Yeah.
It's like, well, you've decided which feelings are okay to hurt and which feelings are okay to hurt. And then you've built a philosophy around that it makes your stuff okay to do and their stuff not okay to do.
Again, also, he's like, his main source of income is from Netflix. Is like he has.
So you're
I said it before, but he's like, he has his
taking what he says at face value. You're kind of saying like, well, he's lying, and maybe that's the case. But I'm giving him like, if you are to take his arguments at face value, I'm saying.
Sure. I mean, maybe it could be a bit of both. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's maybe some things he's thought of where he goes, yeah, I can't do that in my act because maybe it's not that crazy, but I might get in trouble with Netflix.
I agree with you that that's probably what's happening.
Yeah,
like,
there's some.
I don't know. That's news people, like all of it. Content creators. But not him, but it's all the same arguments everywhere.
I feel like I've nailed the double standards and hypocrisy and where it comes from. Say like Sean King and Colin Kaepernick, right? They're like, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist. Their biggest fear is them in a different race. If somebody feels about their race,
Sean
like
King?
Yeah.
We don't even know what race he is.
Right. But let's just go with the default of what he says. But
we'll take it face value.
Like, I don't, when it comes to race, like, I don't call people racist. Things don't bother me no matter what you really say. But like, what they don't want to see is somebody that feels about their ethnic group the same way that they do. So it's like they're at war with themselves. They don't want to see a white person that feels about white people 1/10 of the way they feel about black people. So it's like hypocritical.
I'm kind of missing this.
Like, okay, so say like a Colin Kaepernick type person. He's like, dude, this is white supremacy. This is white supremacy. Talking about like Kyle Rittenhouse, who doesn't even talk about race. So it's like he doesn't want to see, but he feels about, I want to do this for black people. This, if there was a white person that said, I want to do this for my people, he would be like, you're a racist.
Oh,
so it's
of
like
course.
he's mad at what he's doing. It's like a projection sort of thing where his worst enemy is him in another race doing what he's doing, right? So it's like he's trying to stop the world from doing what he's doing.
Interesting.
So, and also with the court case stuff, like I'm not going to say, because there's people on all sides, but I follow a lot of left-wing and right-wing people. I saw a lot of right-wing people say different things, but it was all about like, this is what I think about what happened. And everyone didn't agree on the last couple cases that I saw. But on the left, it's just like, you're racist, he's racist, I win. You know, it's like
exactly.
Conversation over, and I'm like, you didn't even logically, we're on the right wing. As far as from what I follow, I'm sure there are people, but no one really cares about ethnic group. They're trying to like dissect what actually happened in Ahmaud Arbery. And a lot of people were happy that the guy got convicted on the right wing because they're like, I watched the case and I determined that they didn't care that he was white or he was black. It's the left a lot of times that it's like this projection thing. Like you said, I don't want you to say this about race or this is offensive, but I'm going to say this. They've determined it's like a class system. That's why you got some of these events. All of their employees have masks on and they're out here with the social justice women's right, but all the women behind them have masks on. I don't know if they realize they're doing it right, but it's like it's the crazy like psychology of like so much hypocrisy. I'm like, how do you not see that? You know, like outside of the political angle, like they're all wearing masks. You're forcing them to. You don't have one, and your shirt says like equality for women, but they're not even equal. 10
also,
steps
you're a
behind
politician who made the rule to require masks because you think masks are so important, and then you're at an event and you're not wearing one and everybody else is. And you're like, oh, it's fine. It's like what was it? The Grammys or some shit, or like the Emmys.
They had the Expo, I know, or whatever that. Like,
the Met or the Met.
The
Met
they
have a bunch of them where there's like, that happens all the time.
I was kind of even thinking with that stuff too, like that there's, you know, the what he's arguing against is the people that say like people are too sensitive, and people always go, oh, people are too sensitive, and it's like, they're not too sensitive. It's like they want to silence you. Like, you know what I mean? People always go, oh, these like snowflakes are like sensitive. And it's like it's equivalent of like the Chinese government like putting a guy in jail for, it's like the Chinese government was sensitive. It's like they weren't sensitive. It's like they don't want you to like say this stuff.
The fact is very rarely, like we know a lot of comedians, very rarely do you hear like a really good comedian who's like takes some flack being like, oh, they're too sensitive. It's always like the worst comedians who are like saying crazy shit for like a rise.
You are right.
And then they get like some blowback and they go, oh, these people are too sensitive. It's like, I mean, you've seen it a million times. You go to like an open mic comedy show, some guy's like bombing, and then he goes, oh, you can't handle this, huh? Like, how many times have you seen that exact version?
Well, the best
where someone goes, oh, you can't handle this, huh? You go, no, this sucks.
Well, that's the old, like, you start beefing with the audience, you know, like then someone says something and you're glad and you're like, this scumbag ruins the whole show.
For
and you're
sure.
like, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad the whole time.
It's like, someone please make a noise.
Yeah,
so I
everybody
can blame
would
you.
love to handle this. And they're just, you're terrible. And they're like, but it's easy. You know what? Like comedy is, you know, we've seen a lot of times where like, it's just, there's a real dissonance a lot of times where some people, I mean, some people think they're like amazing when they're terrible. Like people like bomb every time and they're like, yeah, I just, you know, I'm like a few more years and I'm going to be like, you know, the biggest comedian in the world. And they're like, there's, you know, they're not participating in reality like we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but they have to kind of like figure it out for themselves to say like, oh, they can't handle it. It's not an issue with me. It's them.
Well, we were talking, because JJ's here, we were talking with him, like how they clump like all the things in when he's gays, like, but the same thing with that where they go, like the people like Marin, when he's talking about this, they're clumping in, being like saying a racist slur with saying like, you know, I don't believe that there's 8,000 genders, right? Like you're clumping those, you're clumping those things. They're not. They are not justice. The same thing.
Yeah, of course.
One is like, you know, being like derogatory, like, and obviously there's no debate about that. You're being derogatory. The other is someone goes, did you hear this thing that people were saying recently where it's like, so you get, what is a woman? Like get someone to describe what a woman is, and they go, and they tell you it's like someone who identifies as a woman or whatever, and you go, okay, but what are they identifying as? Like they can't do the definition without using the word. And you're like, well, what? So it's like that. If you disagree with like their opinions on that, you're like in that context, you're not like trying to be offensive. You go, no, I'm saying what I think. Mm-hmm. It's like saying what I believe is the case. To me is very different than I'm calling, like, I'm not to say I wouldn't call a girl a cunt to be funny, but they aren't the same thing. Like
no,
those are two, JJ's loving that. They're two different things.
I think you nailed it earlier where it's like what they're doing is a authoritarianism, but they're hiding it behind social justice and just being authoritarian. Like, if you're gay, you should be able to be joked about, but now you can't.
I think you should only be joked. No,
I call them LGBT supremacists because it's like everybody can be joked about, but not you. I try to bring up Freddie Mercury sometime where I'm like, he didn't run around and just say, I'm gay, I'm gay, I'm gay. He just made like the sickest songs, and then no one cared because it was so fire. Like Dennis Rodman, he used to dress up and stuff, but he was so good, people got away with it. It's these people that suck that cry the most. You know what I'm saying? Like Freddie Mercury never cried 1,000 times. He made like amazing songs, and if you couldn't produce it and you were straight, you were at the concert being like, we will rock you. So I find that like a lot of the weakest, you know, comedians and celebrities, they use it as like, oh, it's like a victim thing where it's like, there have been people of you.
I prefer the victims at least. I prefer it at least when it's them. Like when I hear like the same reason when like a chick's like, dude, it's hard to be a girl and this and that. I'll take that all day over a dude being like, it is so hard to be a woman. Like my bare requisite is you're the thing. You know what I mean?
No, that's just like makes your skin crawl.
How do you feel when guys are out there being like, Jews have it so hard? you don't get what he's going through with this inflation.
I find with that one too, I have a lot of people that hit me up to be like, dude, thank you, I'm in Israel, thank you for talking about the medical tyranny that's going on, because so many right-wingers that are always so pro-Israel, none of them are talking about what's actually going on in Israel. So it seems like the left-wing sort of thing where they use it and like, we really care about the Jews, and then like when something really is happening, they got their backs turned, and I'm like, so this is happening in Israel, and they're like, bro, thank you for not, you know, being weird about it and just like actually reporting on this.
For sure. Well, the Israel thing's the craziest because they just were like, if you give us the vaccine, we'll turn our whole country into guinea pigs and we'll basically like, we'll give you all the data. We just want the vaccine first. And then, that was like, Israel was where they straight up just like one day, they're like, everybody who was vaccinated was technically no longer vaccinated.
Yeah, the booster.
They basically, if you didn't get the booster on a certain day, you're just like, you're no longer vaccinated.
Israel's going hard over there.
They're just kind of trying to be like,
you still think Australia is the worst?
I haven't been to either, so it's hard to tell like how, because even like you said in New York City, like are they all enforcing it, or are there places that are like, come here?
Right.
Even in Canada, that one guy got shut down.
I want you to commit to an uninformed opinion.
Addison barbecue guy,
right? And then even in LA, they were trying to shut that guy down. So I guess it depends where you are. Like in Orange County, there's one guy, Basilicos. He didn't shut down for a single day. He tells me health people come, and he's like I told him to sit there. They were outside. He's like, I ate a full meal in front of them, and then I came out an hour later and said, go fuck yourself. And like, they never bothered him.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you have the buddies that are
pretty bad.
Starting fights on purpose.
Remember the crazy thing in LA was those who was it, like a YouTuber or something, or it was the Nelk Boys where they shut their power off.
Yeah, was it Jake Paul or was it the Nelk Boys? I don't know.
I know the
Nelk
Boys got their
right.
One of them was.
I don't know about the power. I know they got.
They got
YouTube
kicked off of YouTube because of having a party. But someone was like, they were partying and like during COVID. I think it's maybe Jake Paul or something.
Shut off their power
and they shut off their power.
That's psycho.
Which is like insane overreach. Where you're like the mayor of a city as big as Los Angeles is like, we got to get this address. Shut the power off to this.
They're partying.
That's so creepy. Yeah. Dude, I can't tell how bad it is in these other countries, right? Have you been to Canada since this all stuff? Okay.
Yeah, a couple times.
Is it bad? Or?
It's kind of the same. Like everywhere I feel like it really is kind of more blown up. I mean, the vaccine stuff, I guess people are getting fired in that, but the actual like lockdown stuff, it always seems a little more on the news. Like once stuff actually opened, before at one point, like everything actually was closed and you're like, dude, you can't run a comedy club. Like it was kind of wild. But after that period, most people, like whenever I go home to my friends in Toronto, they're like, yeah, we don't fucking do any of this shit. Like, dude, we're having parties. Like everyone knows the spot.
Yeah, it's just the stuff that's like
kind of like
closed. And
yeah.
I mean, with like the vaccine stuff.
I was kind of always joking around when they'd be like, oh, you're allowed to have 3 people gatherings. I'm like, I mean, make it 0. I'm not following. Yeah, like it's irrelevant. You can make it a fucking, I'm allowed to have
but like they did make it in, now in Canada, if you're unvaccinated, you can't like travel. Like if you're unvaccinated, you can't take like a Greyhound to go somewhere. You can't take a train. You can't take a plane.
You can't get trained.
Can't get trained.
But so
it's like if you don't have a car, first off, you're stuck. You can't leave the country. Instantly, you're like, if I don't have a vaccine, I'm not allowed.
That's creepy. So you're like,
I'm not allowed to leave the country because I guess you could maybe drive, but I don't know if you can drive into America without the because there's only one border, right? So I don't know if you can drive to America without the vaccine. So you can't go anywhere.
That's creepy.
And then, but you're also like, I can't even take a bus to Calgary, like, or whatever from Toronto.
Yeah.
Like,
That's our
like,
body. He just moved out to the sticks and he's just doing construction and he's like smoking darts. There's him and the construction boys in the sticks celebrating Kyle Rittenhouse. Like,
they just like refuse. He's just like,
he's going full American Canadian.
But at least like that's what I was saying with the gun stuff, like earlier, where like, if in America, like, I don't think they would ever try here to say you need a vaccine to take a plane.
Yeah.
Right? They floated it, but I think, like, that would be kind of, like, too far, where they'd be like, that's, like, kind of too far. Even though there's a lot of people who want it, but...
From what I read, the pilots are actually getting exemptions, because I guess they held pretty hard, and they're getting exemptions because they are the only ones who could fly the planes, and I guess they got desperate. So I think I hope you're right.
Well, no, but I'm just saying like a mandate from the government. We're saying you can't fly in America without a vaccine, which is what it is in Canada. You can't hop on a plane in Canada within the country.
Yeah, I think they could get away with it, but the question would be how much business do they lose? And
they would lose a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't fly. That's definitely my line in the sand where I would drive, I guess. I had to think about
we were in Florida,
I'd bike to New York.
We did like in Naples, we did a show or whatever, and this dude drove from Raleigh.
He wanted to take a plane,
Wow.
Committed BOYSCAST fan.
Committed BOYSCAST fan.
A couple quick things. The first one is, who do you think's the worst pundit on the air right now?
Content creator.
Who's the worst content creator?
You're right. Pundits, even not too even a fucking. They don't even deserve the word. Content creators.
I mean, Who's
the one that like pisses you off the most?
Off my head, I would say like Joy Reid, Don Lemon, and then like Rachel Maddow. But kind of like I don't really watch, and when I do, they're like a parody of what I would think they're doing. Like, they're like Charlottesville, you know, like and then they're like, I forget the one time they're like Ukraine collusion, and I'm like, they said it all within a minute. I felt like they took every buzzword that I would think left leaners would say and just threw it in together. Like the Ukraine collusion might literally be Charlottesville, you know, January 6th reincarnate. I'm like QAnon shaman, and I'm like, damn, like within 2 minutes she hit every time. I'm like, people watch this for an hour. I got everything I needed to know.
Man, I know.
I guess that's if you watch like Tucker is like, or whatever, one of those guys is like, all right, critical race theory, like immigration, whatever.
I will tell you the one thing that's so crazy. Someone posted this I saw on Twitter, but like it is just so insane. So the Waukesha thing, whatever, with the guy drove the car in the market, and like, you know, all these people are like, CNN is reporting.
You were saying you were pumped about it, right?
Yeah. So, quite. But CNN was quite. But CNN was like,
so what happened again?
This dude basically like drove his car into fucking market, killed all these people, injured Christmas parade. Sorry, not market.
Yeah.
Killed all these people or whatever, and then
Wakanda it was right.
What?
It was Wakanda was the place
that he drove it.
Is that not it?
Waukesha.
Oh, sorry.
Wakanda. Right. But anyways, like, on like 4chan and like, you know, just these random, like the quartering, this dude, you know, he was posting like, here's this guy's name, here's where he lives, here's his background, here's his Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And CNN's like, we have no information. And you're like, so you're at the point where like, I'm getting all the news from fucking straight up just like YouTubers and like Twitter guys. And then CNN is like just making all this shit up, and like, they don't have any of this information. You're like, how are regular people figuring this stuff out? And you're like, isn't this your job?
Because they're just lying. Like they said he might be fleeing from a knife incident that turned out.
Yeah, that was true.
Like it's just like a PR team. It would be like if Alec Baldwin, you know, you're his PR guy. You're like, let's see how we could turn this. And then they're saying it was like a mistake or an accident or a crash, and it's like they made it just seem like it wasn't.
Well, they're like trying to essentially just be like, here's all potential explanations of like why this could have been an accident.
Right.
Like, why are you instantly being like, maybe this is an accident? Like, why does it even matter if it's an accident or not? You're like, this is what happens, and if you get more information, then you can report on it.
It's pure propaganda, and it's something that I don't know if the news was always like this because I never watched, but after like the Trump era and the way that they came down on it, now they have no shame. Like with the Rogan thing, you know, he got really upset because he's like, you know, I know about this drug. You might not like it, but this is what they don't care. They just don't care. You know, they'll push any narrative, but. Yeah, those three I think are like the worst, and Brian Stelter's the funniest to me because he's just like
he's pretty in your face with like lying,
right? He just like it seems like he's like just seems like a little guy up there. Like, I don't know. He's just like funny to me. That's so much.
He's had this thing recently where he brings people on that basically to shit talk him to his face. So like, he'll be like, "So what's wrong with me?" And then they like tell him, and then they like tell him, and he goes,
"Right,
oh, it's just your opinion."
You freaking suck. And he's just like, "Okay, it's like I'll think about it." Like, I saw that clip. I was like, "Damn, I don't." Who was it? But they destroyed him right to his face.
Yeah, he brings it. There's been a few people, and he goes, and they're like, "You're literally what's wrong with America." And he goes, "That's your opinion.
That's your opinion, bud." Who do you think's the worst right wing? Like the Fox guy? Who's the worst one?
On Fox or
like or just like right wing guy? Period.
I don't.
Bill O'Reilly is my all time worst.
He's gone.
Like.
He's hilarious. But I would say Tucker, I think, is like an independent thinker and will do stuff. Hannity, I think, definitely rode the Trump train. You know what I'm saying? And like kind of just latched on. So I remember if there's a war, he's for it. But then Trump's around now, he's against it. So I trust Tucker, I think, more than Hannity. To be honest, I don't watch Fox enough. I think it's funny when Judge Jeanine just screams at people. They're like, they bring on like Geraldo Rivera and they're just screaming. Or, you know what? Maria Bartiromo, too. She's like, Trump, what do you think about that? I'm like, dude, people watch this stuff. Like, I'm sure she's a nice lady, but she literally just screams in this high-pitched voice.
Geraldo like doesn't like Trump, right? Like that was his thing. He kind of came back and was like a never Trump.
A few of them were. They weren't all. I don't think.
Isn't it? But Geraldo, that's his thing, right?
Like he's like people that they put like Geraldo or like I think it was like Juan Williams. Like,
but he's like a hardcore left-wing guy, right? Like that's just,
and they'll bring him on just to fight. And I don't like people fighting, but like I mean, if it happens and it's funny, but like I don't know, it just gets loud, and I feel like
you're like I could go to my family dinner if I want to hear this shit.
Yeah, I like to chill out and listen to something calm because then it kind of stresses me out, right? If you got a high-pitched lady screaming at a guy, like I don't, you know, they're like, I'm like, I could probably get this information somewhere else on a podcast.
We're gonna do one more thing here. So this relates to college. So this article it was by The Sun, and it's men are developing golden penis syndrome, and we need to put a stop to it. And you have golden penis syndrome.
Like,
I got a golden penis.
I'm not trying to promote my personal brand, but it's worth a lot.
It's an anomaly, bro.
What is it? Golden penis. What is it?
No, so the gist was, so this is funny to me, and the reason I like this is because, so forever it was kind of like 50-50 college, and now women are going to college at a way higher rate. And it's been about a week, and they already have a bunch of articles of being like, this is why this is worse for women.
Yeah, totally.
This is why guys are slanging D because they got a golden penis
and they're mad
the only
about
one there.
Well, it's just straight supply and demand.
It's supply and demand.
Yeah, because apparently none of these girls are going to school for economics. They're going to.
But that's the funniest part about it is it took them a week of being like, because they were like, it is so much harder for girls at college, and they're like, guys can't even get in. Girls are going to college at like 30% more rate. And then they were like, that is terrible for us.
Yeah, that is an unintended consequence we didn't like.
We want winning.
We want more options.
And that's so funny.
That's how New York used to be for me. I don't know, but when I used to go there, like one time I went out and this chick this when I was younger, she was cute. She came up, she's like, can I just make out with you? I was like, and my friend was like, yo, what was that? And I was like, I don't know what, that was crazy. And they're like, dude, there's so many gay guys here, and there's so many women that they're like, I don't know.
You were just such a commodity because of the ratio.
Because there's so many gay dudes.
We went to a school that was 70-30. We had golden dicks back before. It was cool.
And the beta energy too, where like, you know, women aren't really interested in that. Like these guys that, you know, the male feminists and stuff, they're not really like appealing. So I guess the ratio is so crazy that I was like, I could get used to that. But LA was not like that.
But LA, what do you mean LA wasn't like that?
I feel like it wasn't like there were a lot of women and just like a lot of gay dudes.
You're saying here was like a lot of dudes walking around.
I guess the ratio is better there, where women were like, oh my God, a guy that it isn't like, you know, a total beta or something. But I feel like I wasn't even that cool there. But I was like, I felt really cool that night. I was like, dang, like what neighborhood are we in again? It was like Manhattan or something. I'll come back here.
Well, this is what they said. They go, there are few men enrolled in college than ever before, which means it's a tougher market for the collegiate females in terms of heterosexual relationships. And Tinder was the original thing that fucking evened out the supply and demand. Because originally girls had to be like, maybe I'll have sex with you, maybe I won't. And then they had to be like, no, yes, I'm here because I'm going to have sex. Like, you got to put it on the table. Bumble, they start swiping you first. That was the downfall for women. And then on top of that, that is sick. Honestly, I know that a lot of guys aren't going to college, and there's probably reasons, but at the same time, if you're like, hey, 70-30, and you could just go on apps like it's a crush fest. Like,
you can also just go get a job and live near a college.
Get a Sally Mae loan.
What my friend did.
Go 100K into debt.
Your buddy did that?
Ratio. So I said, get a Sally Mae loan, 100K in debt. They're like, hey, Ryan, I listen to your podcast. I'm in debt, but I piped a lot of...
If you do the math, you paid like $10 a fucking pop. Do you think that people shouldn't go to college?
I mean, it depends what you're studying, but now with the mandates and stuff, it's...
But do you have strong opinions on... a lot of people are like, college is useless. Do you have strong like opinions on that?
I mind my own business, but I think it's definitely... I wouldn't look at it as favorably as I used to now.
Yeah.
I think, for me, I dropped
Going
out.
to 100
I don't think I learned anything
like
in
Kanye
school.
West?
Yeah, except a little less rich. But yeah, I learned all my advertising and marketing just trying online. But yeah, I don't know. Some of the schools are forced vaccinating people. But if you have a degree that,
but even just like the other stuff aside from the vaccination, like finish 100K in debt with a fucking BA and nothing.
Yeah,
BA and dyeing your hair.
I would suggest against it, but I don't want to be the reason. Like some people need to be doctors and they need it.
No, we're not doctors.
Yeah. But if you get like a liberal arts degree or like even an advertising degree, I don't know. I felt like my hustle was what made it for me. I don't remember two things that I learned in school, but I was also a degenerate student.
Yeah, like advertising degree is a perfect thing because you're like, you can get an advertising degree, or you can just go like figure out Facebook ads and then go to a company and be like, hey, I know how to use this whole thing.
Listen to Gary Vee scream at you in the morning. He's like, wake the fuck up, pussy.
Dude,
start selling things. Like he's at a garage sale 5:30 in the morning. He's like, dude, this guy's hawking me. It's like this old guy bent over. I'm like, bro, he doesn't care. He's not like, he's like, dude, he's like, fuck out of the way, old guy. Like that'll probably seriously work better than college listening to.
Hell yeah, I gotta tell you a funny Gary Vee story, but we won't tell the details because
tell the details, dude.
No, I'll tell the details, but I can't tell
Behind
the
the
person
paywall,
it was
perhaps?
because
No, I'm just
it
kidding.
won't air out our buddy. But he was doing some stuff with Gary Vee, and then Gary Vee was deciding who is going to be like the film crew that like films this stuff, and Gary Vee everything's content for him, and he brings his staff in, and he goes, so who has the job of like, for example, like if you have a crew and you're like, okay, I'm going to need you to go on this tour and film these videos for me. I need one video a day. I'm going to do this. He makes his crew draw straws and films it to figure out which fucking his employees are doing that week. Not like who's better. He makes them draw straws, and then he makes a video out of that.
He's a madman. He's the type where I'd be like, if I first met you, I'd be like, yo, how you doing? I'd be like, yo, just pound me.
Yeah.
Yo, did you get that? Did you get that? That's good. He's like, that's good. He's like that. And then like you're trying to talk to him. He always screams over people. And they're like,
he goes, always touching, never connecting. Always touching. Always touching, never connecting. You good, bro? You good? You hear me? Always touching. It's Eddie Does that face. Always touching, never connecting.
He's like, we got that? Okay, camera's off. He's like, fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Okay,
now get the hell out of my office.
Did you get the pound? Women are getting frustrated when it comes to dating men thanks to men's surging egos. Yeah. Women just need to get liberated by all these guys.
There's a lot of guys who want to do the liberating.
Let these men liberate you in college. Let the BOYSCAST fans.
Do you think that's a real problem, or just like that specific blogger has a problem, so she's trying to like?
She wants to be a princess. She goes, I don't have I have to just be in the dating market. Like how guys used to have to do it. They're basically, life is what guys' life used to be.
Right.
70% men. That's what it was for dudes back in the day.
Do you think it's just because they're not desirable? Like, I'm sure there's still women killing.
Say it to her face.
I mean, the thing is, this is the thing. She's editorializing by saying men are developed.
No, hot chicks that have a good mindset, they're probably still crushing. You know, she's like, why from my San Francisco apartment with my 7-cat view can I not see the guy down on the floor? It's
but
like,
also,
it might be you.
That's her opinion that men are developing.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, she goes, men are developing golden penis syndrome. It's like, why? Because like some guy didn't call you back.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I want to hear what she says. She goes, it's more than that. She says it's a trend. She goes, they also
3 Tinder dates. The trend. Trending.
That's the thing. The rule of threes, it was a trend. She goes, there's also a trend of men not in college not wanting committed relationships because they want to keep
their options. Men in college don't want to be in committed relationships?
It's a trend.
Do tell. When did this trend start? When the first college opened? Like, what are you talking about?
I remember
she's been doing research and she's seen a trend. Yeah, research. Men don't want to be in relationships in college.
Tommy Lauren got like, really attacked by conservatives because she sat with like 5 chicks and she was like, men are trash or whatever. And it was like, and they're like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, we all agree. And I'm like, maybe you and your 4 friends, like, you know, that poll is not the whole thing. Like, just because you have 4 agreeable friends, they're probably afraid to disagree with her. Like,
you're videotaping me right now, so it's like I'm not like
I'm not going to disagree on camera and get yelled at, but it must be true. I think that's what's going on. People,
the person's like, the one girl in the crew's like, these men won't sign. The other 2 are like, yeah, I mean, I'm dating someone.
Yeah, I love my boyfriend.
There's a trend of men that won't commit to us, and then the girl's like, yeah, my guy's been trying to rope me down, actually.
I think like male models aren't writing articles like, dude, it's really hard to get women nowadays. You know, it's like the guy who's doing it. It's like Sylvester Johnstein from NPR. He's like, it's very difficult on Bumble, and you're like, dude, yes, but maybe not for everyone. You know.
Well, another user chimed in saying that once she learned about the golden penis syndrome, then she knew she'd been a victim of it. If that doesn't define women,
I love how we're victimized. We're getting victimized by golden penis syndrome.
Golden penis syndrome rules.
Any guy that didn't like you has a golden penis. Also, I mean, that works in our favor.
She didn't realize when she was like, oh, my dating life's been bad. He goes, no, you were a victim of golden penis syndrome.
Oh, right. Now that you say that makes it remind me of how many times that's happened to me.
Literally makes everything better.
Next.
Golden penis syndrome is incredible. Okay, so me and Danny this week, we're gonna do another episode on the Patreon that's gonna come out a day later because we're gonna fly back to New York and do patreon.com/theboyscast
for all the high value males.
That's the thing. If you wanted to be a high value male, it's only HVMs on the Patreon.
Only HVMs on
you got that Ty Lopez style ranking. You're like, if you want to be high value, you'll pay the price.
We did this female dating strategy where we read about
be a HVM.
Artist Ryan Long will teach you.
So now all the YouTube listeners are low value males, and then the Patreons are high value males.
Thanks for the ad revenue, but you could do more. Let's be honest, you could do a little more. Yeah.
But hell yeah, dude, it was so fun hanging with you because we've been talking on the internet and stuff forever, and I honestly think the shit you do is the best. But where do you want people to wrote you to now? You said the Facebook's like your kind of main thing, but
Instagram's easier to spell. Dream Rare. Instagram, TikTok, Dream Rare. Facebook.
Instagram's popping. Are you monetized on Insta?
They did. Yeah, they actually.
It's not very much, right?
The badges aren't much, but they had a reel thing. They rolled out reels and they said, you know, if you can get
the real thing,
they
were giving you
9,000 or something. So I was like,
you gotta, dude, your Instagram videos, all your videos are good, dude. You like that's why when you started doing TikTok videos, I was even thinking to myself, I'm like, those are gonna, if you don't get kicked off, those are gonna do really well because you're like really good at like summarizing a thing in 45 seconds. So.
I taught myself how to edit well too because I never liked how my music videos came out for a while, so I started editing. So it helps to do everything yourself, you know, and that's like comedy, whatever. I mean, I don't know who films it for you guys, but when you're in control,
I do all the editing.
Yeah, right. It makes it a lot easier, so you're not dependent on anybody. But yeah, Dream Rare on Instagram or An0maly, but you got to spell it An0maly. The O's a 0.
Someone else is. There's another An0maly out there, right?
Yeah. I told you
Punk
that.
Bitch, dude.
Yeah,
what was the other thing? What were you telling me? Yeah, we
the gamer. Yeah, they invited me to some pro poker tournament, but they thought I was the Twitch streamer, and then they disinvited me because I wasn't famous enough. And then they accused me of grifting just to talk to a hip hop guy like I needed a career or something. I was like, bro, this is crazy. Like, are you? And I look him up. He's got 2 million things, and he just has that little like he has like a little like Koopa or Shy Guy. I think he has a Shy Guy like avatar. I'm like, dude, fuck this guy. Like, but honestly, so if he's out there, I don't mean it because he could probably ratio me and send me like 1 million angry like Twitch trolls. So man,
you don't want those Twitch trolls.
We support all An0malys.
Band together,
all content creators, right? On television.
Hell yeah, content creators. You can suck a dick, and this is the BOYSCAST. That's the one thing I was going to say. If everyone could do is leave us a review on iTunes. So we never really asked for that, but it's like a huge thing for us right now, especially because we just started having guests again, and we're going to be doing. It's like I find whenever when someone asks me, first thing I do is look at their iTunes like ratings. Right. And if it's under 1,000, I'm like, you know.
Yeah. If it's 3 stars, I just say go fuck yourself.
Yeah, the stars.
You don't even know.
Lose my number.
Stars I care less about, but mostly I'm like, I want to see someone that's like, you go. No, people go and they have 50. They're like, I have a huge podcast. This and this has 50 ratings. You're like, obviously no one cares.
2 ratings. One of them's like, Grandma, I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Fuck yeah. Thanks, buddy. Did you get that? All right. Did you get that?
Yeah.
You got it? Gary?
We got it.